call this meeting to order, and we're going to ask Dr. Kelly Burris from the senior pastor from the Kempsville Baptist Church to come forward. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. Would you join with me as we pray? Our Father in heaven, we're so grateful and thankful that we can come before your presence today and know that you have blessed this city in such a great and wonderful way. We thank you for its leaders. We thank you for its mayor, the city council, our fire department, our police, our first responders. And we thank you, dear Lord, for the way that you have opened up the windows of heaven and poured out your blessings upon us. We come beseeching you today, seeking you and trusting you with all of our heart, and believing that you have a will and a way for our lives. We thank you, dear Lord, for the wisdom that you give to our leaders. And we pray for that wisdom. We pray, Father, for your protection upon our city and upon our land. We pray, dear Lord, that you will guide and direct our city council and mayor today as they will make very important decisions, that you will give them wisdom, understanding, and guidance. And with that in return, we'll give you honor and give you praise for all the great and mighty, wonderful things you have done in our life. For we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Okay, Madam Clerk, the roll call.
All present, sir, excluding Ms.
All are present. Could I have a motion for the certification of the closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the vote is open.
By a vote of 10-0, you have certified the closed session being in accordance with the motion to recess.
And Council Lady Wooten will not be joining us tonight due to an illness. Okay, and then could we have a motion for approval of the meeting of the informal and formal sessions of August 3rd, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second.
Nope, we're not. I'm sorry, she closed it too soon.
I'm so sorry.
So can we do a verbal vote, Mr. Rouse?
Abstain.
Abstain, Mr. Tower?
I'm so sorry.
Mr. Tower? The vote,
Verbal.
she closed it by
I'm
accident.
sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And Ms. Wooten, so 7, 8-0.
Okay.
You've approved the minutes with with Councilmember Holcomb and Councilmember Rouse both abstaining.
Okay. Okay, thank you all very much. Okay, right now we have a number of very, very special presentations. Before the first one, we would like to welcome Rocky Holcomb, who has now been appointed to fill the vacancy on the Kempsville seat. And we have with us a very special member of the Virginia Beach City Council family right here tonight, Jessica Abbott. And we on the council, it's a tough job sometimes, but we're a family in many ways. And Jessica has been a vital part of our council, and she was first elected. Bringing not only youth and enthusiasm, but bringing people together, helping to build budgets and build bridges. And often we at times, as we interact with each other, form very, very special relationships among ourselves. And I thought it would be only appropriate for, Councilman John Moss to do the resolution in recognition to a very dear friend who will always be a heart and soul of this council. At this point, Mr. Moss?
Is Jessica going to come up?
Yes.
Please.
Yeah, Jessica. You didn't have to sit in the back row. There you go.
I wanted to see what it was like.
Welcome, Jess. And your husband.
He's fine.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the honor of reading this. Jessica was my seatmate over here for all those years, and it was a great time, and you are sorely missed, Jessica. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Whereas Jessica P. Abbott graduated from Kellam High School in 2007, the American College of Financial Services in 2015, with the LUTCF and the SCSP designations. She is a FEMA certified insurance agent. That comes in very handy on flooding. And has managed her family's insurance business since 2008. And whereas Jessica was first elected to serve on the Virginia Beach City Council in 2017 at the age of 27. So all you young people out there, get those petitions ready. Being the first millennial and the youngest candidate ever elected in the city. She was reelected to serve a second four-year term in 2020 by a wide margin, receiving 120,136 votes, the most ever for a contested city council race. And whereas Jessica served as the city council liaison to the Community Services Board, the Elizabeth River Eastern Branch Project, the Historic Kempsville Citizens Advisory Committee, the Public Library Board, and the Process Improvement Committee. And whereas Jessica advocated for Rails to Trails idea during her first campaign as an alternative use of the 11 miles that runs across the city in hopes of eventually creating an urban trail to connect to the oceanfront. And you will be invited to that ribbon cutting. And whereas Jessica walked recently to secure increased funding for flood mitigation projects and green space, investments in public safety and education. Most recently, Jessica successfully advocated for the city to pursue a RAISE, that's Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, federal grant for funding the westernmost 3 miles of the Norfolk Southern right-of-way into an urban trail. And whereas Jessica was instrumental in crafting the past two budgets and brokering support for the city's $2.2 billion budget, supporting the city's priorities without a tax or fee increase. And now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of Virginia Beach hereby congratulates and offers their sincere appreciation to Jessica P. Abbott for her many achievements and honor a public servant who deserves our deepest gratitude and respect for all that she has done for the City of Virginia Beach and its citizens, given under our hands this day, the 17th of August, 2021.
Another one of those shameless photo ops.
All that white hair.
Say a few words, please.
It says relax. I didn't know it said that up here. It's interesting being here tonight. I've actually never sat in the audience before, so I was really glad to have had that opportunity because it is a different perspective. But I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I'm so honored to have been able to serve the city and to work with you all and the incredible city staff we have. I really love Virginia Beach, and I love Kempsville. And I always have said on the campaign trail and in conversation that Kempsville is so special because it's one of the only places in our city that people say they're from Kempsville. And I'm really grateful that I get to say that too. My parents taught me the importance of civic engagement and service to others. And I hope that that same message will resonate with my own children and all of the young people in our city. Our city has seen them grow so much from the time that they were infants and has been such a unique experience being so young on city council and having a young family. I really want to thank the city staff that I've got to work with who've always lent me their knowledge and their aid. And I really wish I could name all of you, but I feel like I'd be here too long, and I think I have 3 minutes. But I really do,
You get a time exemption.
I really do appreciate all their support, and I want to thank all of you on this body. You've all shared so much insight and experience with me, and we did the math with over 150 years of experience of collective legacy knowledge. I think you're bound to learn a lot by serving with this.
That was just
with all
Lewis's
of you.
time, though, right?
Yeah. I just want to say I appreciate it. It's been a tremendous learning experience. And I want to most importantly express my deepest gratitude and sincerity to the people of our city for giving me this opportunity. I've been informed, enlightened, and amazed by our city's perseverance and resilience. And working for you as the community has been an honor and a privilege that I will always cherish. And I hope one day I'll be able to return and continue to serve our city again. But until then, you all get the responsibility to keep us strong, safe, and vibrant, and I have all the faith in the world. And Rocky, congratulations and good luck, and if I can be of any assistance, you have my phone number.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
We are blessed to have many city employees here in Virginia Beach that not only stay here for years, but their labors bear the fruit of who defines us as a city. And making sure that we are taking care of all people in the city, you know, regardless of income or disposition. Housing has always been a priority. And for a number of years now, we have had a superstar by the name of Andy Friedman, who has honored us, but not only honored us as a council, but as a community, by engaging with the community and performing one of the most essential services of a government, and taking care of people and putting roofs over people's heads. So it's my privilege, whereas Andy Friedman began his long and successful career with the city on October 27th in 1986 as a management analyst in the Department of Housing and Community Development. Whereas he earned a Bachelor of Arts in Communication from Antioch College and a Master of Science in Environmental Studies from the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. And whereas since 1993, Andy has served as Director of the Department of Housing and Neighborhood Preservation, which includes the divisions of Code Enforcement, Homeless Services, Housing Development, Rental Housing, and the Director's Office. And whereas, through his strategic direction and leadership, the department has grown into a staff of 90 dedicated members who are responsible for operating a multi-million-dollar rental subsidy program that enables more than 2,000 households to obtain decent, safe, and affordable housing, addressing an average of 34,000 code violations annually to ensure residents live in vibrant, safe homes and neighborhoods, assisting households with necessary home repairs or modifications so they can continue to live in their homes safely and comfortably, preventing and ending homelessness for thousands of families and individuals in Virginia Beach, managing millions in new grant funding and implementing new programs to help keep residents stably housed and sheltered during the COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas Andy was responsible for securing and managing the federal grant that funded the comprehensive multi-department revitalization effort of 10 predominantly African-American neighborhoods and ensured the successful completion of the project in 1998. Whereas he played an indispensable role in developing a one-of-a-kind Virginia Beach Housing Resource Center, which consolidates housing, shelter, and other key resources for families and individuals experiencing homelessness and housing crisis. Whereas Andy has fostered community partnerships and regional collaboration on expanding housing opportunities and addressing homelessness as chair of the Beach Governing Board and a founding member of the Southampton Roads Regional Task Force on Ending Homelessness, Housing Virginia, and Virginia Housing Alliance. And whereas his vast knowledge in housing and homelessness has earned him appointments to state-level boards and committees by 3 Virginia governors, including his most recent appointment to the State Board of Housing and Community Development in 2018. And whereas his commitment to serving all citizens and promoting housing as basic human rights has been recognized twice by the city's Human Rights Commission, earning him the Human Rights Award in 2000 and the Myra E. Obendorf Human Rights Achievement in Government Award in 2010. Whereas he has induced into Virginia Beach Employee Hall of Fame in 2018, the highest honor that can be bestowed on employees who exemplify the city's values and consistently go above and beyond their service to our citizens and community. And whereas on this day we honor a public servant and leader for his exemplary service, unquestionable integrity, remarkable record of accomplishments, and inspiration to effect positive change that has improved the quality of life for our residents and helped make Virginia Beach the best city to live. Now therefore be resolved that the Virginia Beach City Council hereby expresses its appreciation to Andrew M. Friedman for his outstanding contributions to our city during his 34 years of public service and extends his congratulations on this occasion of his well-earned retirement, given under our hands this 17th day of August 21. Andy, on behalf of a grateful city, thank you. And we worked on a lot of stuff together, Andy, and I'll tell you what, you were the go-to guy. And when we come to addressing the homeless situation, Virginia Beach is years ahead of folks because of your efforts. Thank you, and God bless you, and please, a couple statements.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager, Mark, Mr. City Attorney, all council members, I have to thank you for this honor. I am very proud to be working for this city and to have worked for you and your predecessors for this time. Under your guidance and the direction of past city managers and mayors, I've been given the opportunity to do things for our citizens that you believed were good and to move our city forward the way we have. I've had this incredible opportunity because both individually, with many of you, with all of you, and as a collective body, you have provided the leadership and direction that we could do these things. There's no way the Housing Resource Center would have gotten done without your leadership and the leadership of the city manager and the deputy city managers that I've worked for. I've been, came to government after I was in communications because I wanted to do things rather than write about things that others were doing. And you've given me that opportunity to do a lot here. However, things only get done when people act collectively in groups and coordinate. And so I really have to thank Patrick, all of the prior city managers, including Jim Spoor, who gave me the opportunity to do this job back in 1993, all of the deputies who I worked for, including Ron Williams and currently Ken Chandler, all of my colleagues, because to get things done requires multiple departments to coordinate. Of course, everything gets done by staff. And so I have a great staff who I've been lucky enough to hire, and they do everything that needs to be done. And just finally, being a department director requires that you are thinking about things that need to be done all day, and sometimes at night and on the weekend and whenever necessary. And that takes a toll sometimes. And so I really want to recognize my wife, Barbara, who's here with me, who made everything possible so that I could be here paying attention and doing what needed to be done. So I'm the lucky person here. I got the opportunity to do all this work with your support, and I want to thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And as a final thing, back on July 17th, I had the privilege of doing a proclamation for Local Heroes Day. The folks at Coastal Edge Surfing at Pembroke really honored and had a very, very, very nice event, very well attended by the community, where we honored a number of our local heroes. And, you know, we gave the proclamation to our public safety officers, but our firefighters, our EMS, but we also had representation from the Army National Guard who stepped, but also there were Boy Scouts there that received a copy of, they all received a copy of the proclamation that was done. But I thought it was only appropriate that, you know, this was, you know, a community event. But once again, as we appreciate our first responders and the fact that we are, as we often say, a city of heroes. Are the Boy Scouts here? Yeah, come on up.
Troop 493,
Yep.
North Great Neck area.
So, and, you know, let me tell you, you know, and as Mr. Moss is very involved, you know, a little bit on the surface with Boy Scouts, I'm only kidding. Mr. Moss is very, come on, step to the podium now, you know, and this is our future right here. These are our future, you're gonna be taking over the reins in a couple of years. And maybe a number of you will become military or first responders and everything, but I just thought I was so touched by the fact that you were there and active participants in honoring our heroes. I thought it would be great for you to come here and hear the proclamation that you were given a copy of. And, you know, I'm going to have a copy for, and we ran short on the copy, so I'm going to give you the one that we have here. But let me just read. Whereas our local heroes who serve as public safety officers and first responders, both career and volunteer, perform a vital public service and are recognized as heroic individuals who define the true meaning of valor and selflessness. And whereas facing immeasurable risks every day, they demonstrate the highest degree of selflessness, placing concerns for their fellow citizens above their own safety. Whereas first responders, emergency medical technicians, and paramedics stand ready to provide compassionate, life-saving care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to improve the survival and recovery of those in sudden need of care. And whereas sheriff's officers are called upon to fill simultaneously custodial, supervisory, and counseling roles, the professionalism, dedication, and courage exhibited by these officers throughout the performance of these demanding and often conflicting roles work to secure public safety and betterment of Virginia Beach. And whereas fire professionals exhibit great courage and devotion, putting their lives in danger to safeguard the lives and property of our citizens. And whereas police and public safety officers serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. Whereas all communities benefit directly from the knowledge, skills, and compassion of these highly trained individuals who continue to work through the unprecedented public health emergency. This occasion provides us with the opportunity to recognize the day-to-day sacrifices and bravery of these local heroes. So I just wanted to, tell the Boy Scouts they were part of the ceremony. You are part of our future. And our heroes, what makes us the safest city in the country, takes a lot of work. But by recognizing the heroes that you did that day, this is what makes Virginia Beach so great. And I just wanted to personally and publicly thank you. And on behalf of a grateful city, thank you. Don't forget, if you've got to do your government badges, we're all available for you.
39 was 5. 34 years I've been scouting.
Yeah, remember that for a while. All right. All right, thank you all. Appreciate it. We'll see you again. You know where to find us. Take care. Okay, thank you all. We are indeed a city of heroes. All right, moving along. Okay, we're going to have a public hearing to create the Atlantic Park Community Development Authority, CDA. Any speakers?
We have one speaker, Barbara Messner.
Welcome.
Good evening. Before you start the clock, I just want to ask one question, and welcome, Mr. Holcomb.
Yes.
I thought the new people, because Mr. Rouse has been here for a while, were on the end and moved over, and I'm glad that our city manager is up front now. I appreciate being able to see him. Okay. I didn't know it would be this. Okay. This is for the Park Authority, and I happened to watch today there was Economic Development Authority meeting on this the same day. Council, you are the authority. You are the elected officials. You are responsible for our land and our money. And you keep appointing people, and, Economic Development Authority issues debt, which they approved today. I saw a little bit of it. All of this should be a supermajority vote, 9-0. It involves our land and our money. It should be 9 or 7-2, not a quorum. And certain people have conflicts and shouldn't vote. I noticed that the clerk has a conflict with Wilcox Savage, and she didn't even leave the room today. She said her, at Economic Development Authority, she said her conflict. Mr. Dyer, you've taken money from tourism, Waterman's, Shack, MEB, I just saw they have an office over there. Ms. Wilson's family, CPA for family business, Dixon Hughes. They audit Town Bank, who will be financing for venture, I assume. And that income is over $250,000. Mr. Wood owns resort rentals, and Ms. Wilson also sells condos at the resort. Mr. Moss has taken funds from Mike Standing at Waterman's and has conflicts with Dominion. And this is a Public-Private Education Act, takes classroom money for sports. I don't know how many people realize that Public-Private Education Act goes for infrastructure and all types of projects for private developers. This particular project, there will be HUD money for senior housing. I doubt it at the Oceanfront.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I just want to hold up this picture because this has been going on for
Thank
couple
you.
years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, will we get ready for the speakers? Yep, Mr. Moss.
I did receive, just because I know the public's watching, and I think it's important probably to put the right baseline of information out after the public comment period, but someone did send me an email just now about why are we creating this authority, and if you could indulge me, I think it might help a lot of people not to walk away watching thinking that that was an accurate description. This is legislation which I helped sponsor, but Delegate Barry Knight introduced. And what this allows is that council is actually the CDA, one and the same. The reason why we had to create the authority was so that we could do borrowing that's totally being repaid by the property inside the boundary layers, the boundaries of the CDA, but that debt would not count legally against the city and would not impact our bond rating. So the CDA is all about how to do development, but without exposing our larger residents and businesses to increased taxes and fees, and also not to expose us to our bonding authority or availability to borrow money because it's all privately controlled. But it is one and the same, and that's to avoid the public thinking that we're delegating our job away. We're not, but we're minimizing the exposure of the overall public to debt and to taxes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this point, I'm going to read our speaker's policy before we go into the consent agenda. I want to remind everyone that the City Council speaker policy that allows certain representatives of groups to speak out for 10 minutes applies only to planning items. All other speakers, whether speaking individually or on behalf of a group, will have 3 minutes to speak. Speakers are reminded that comments during the formal portion of the meeting must be limited to the subject of the item that is being considered by council at the time you are called. When speakers are called on each item, the clerk will call for those individuals who have signed up to speak. We have several items with only one speaker signed up. As such, the city clerk will call the speaker and identify each item they have registered on. The speaker will receive 3 minutes to comment on each item. Again, the speaker must limit his or her comments to the subject matter of the items they have signed up to address. Finally, I call upon all speakers and all persons in the chamber to be civil in their discussion and decorum. Whatever views you hold and wish to express, the City Council wants to hear from you and ensure that all viewpoints and all persons are respected. The best way to do this is for us to strive for civility and respect. Okay, at this point, Madam Clerk, do we have one speaker items?
Ms. Messner, Barbara Messner.
And that would be on ordinance, J1.
I'll go through.
Okay.
If it's okay, I'll go through them with.
Good, thank you.
So, Ms. Messner, the only items that are being pulled from the consent agenda and ordinance and resolutions will be number 3 and 4. So all other items for ordinances and resolutions.
Okay, 3 is,
3 and 4.
okay, I tried to get ready, and welcome back. Terry did a great job while you were gone.
Thanks.
3. and 4, which are, okay, so that will be before planning, is that correct?
That'll be before, yeah,
You need to start with 1A and B.
Okay. Okay, J1. This is, let's see. Let me read it over here. Dates of regular city council meetings. You know, I tried to get the full agenda, but the bookmarked agenda was not ready until after 5 o'clock on Friday. I had to wait because the way it's listed, you cannot read it until it's bookmarked. And that's some of the due process that I've been concerned about for a long time. And I've spoken for over 20 years on restricted access to meetings, times, dates, et cetera, and how they conflict with school board planning, et cetera. This one, from what little I could skim through, because it's 752-page agenda, this is so it won't conflict with the November election. It still conflicts with the school board and other meetings and the times. You know, I object to you moving back here. There were plenty of people showing up at the convention center, and there's a lot more room to take up 2 rows for these proclamations and everything. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I think something of this magnitude, changing this, that we should have a special meeting and we should have more time to prepare and read the actual full agenda. And speaking of conflicting, you know, I watched a couple minutes, which I mentioned, of the Economic Development Authority meeting, and I didn't get the notice this time. I usually get the notice. And Lisa Murphy, who works for one of the law firms that we've been hiring, she admitted her conflict, and Lyndon Ramias was sitting right behind her. I don't know why he was there. And yet she sat in the room. She didn't leave the room. I mean, we have one of the, yeah, I think she's even a partner with Wilcox Savage, so, and Miss Wood is in there. So, you know, I have a major problem. There are a lot of people that don't have time to pay attention. I've been paying attention for a long time.
Okay, now, then item number 2.
Okay. Let's see. Item number 2, approve participation in the Virginia Abatement Fund and authorize execution of settlement allocation memorandum of understanding. And, you know, like I said, 752 pages. There were certain ones I was interested in, you know. This should be in the newspaper like it used to be. We should have more information on the agenda brief so we actually know and can look this up. Okay, you said 3 is pulled and 4 is pulled, 5. Temporary encroachment into a portion of city-owned property known as Pike Inlet, located, let's see, rebuild and maintain existing dock and construct and maintain proposed dock addition and bulkhead. We're encroaching on too much city property. You've been doing it for 20 years. Everybody, you know, is building pools, they're building docks. Okay, 6. I mean, let's see. Tax on transient lodging. There's too many taxes. What don't you tax? We shouldn't have taxes on our food, our water. We shouldn't be taxed for storm water when the storm drains aren't fixed and the pump stations are broken. So, I mean, all this money for lodging stays in, you know, certain pool of money. I think there was $27 million during the pandemic that could have been used for police, but you use COVID money. So, okay. So that's 6 or 7. Okay, this is authorize temporary encroachment into a portion of city-owned property located between Sandy Beach and Boardwalk. How many people think this, raise your hand if you think it still looks like a beach, like the beach we had in the 80s and 90s, a white sandy beach, shell beach. Okay. By Oceanfront Investments, LLC, to remove 2 sets of existing wooden stairs and construct and maintain 2 new sets of wooden stairs. Now, there's so many what's considered parks and parking. We used to have parking on the ocean side of Atlantic Avenue. What you consider parks are now venues, and their streets are closed. And everything's, you know, there's no parking for anybody unless you live in one of these new condos or ride a bike, which is very dangerous on our streets today. Okay, 8, ordinance to authorize temporary encroachment into a portion of city-owned property. Sorry, I'm just distracted. I mean, all right. By Ms. Wilson, sorry. 8, temporary encroachment into portion of city-owned property known as Lake Joyce and 25 strip of city property around Lake Joyce, 2344 Bayville Road, reconstruct and maintain a vinyl bulkhead, pump house, boat ramp, and wood dock. I just have concerns about all the encroachment as far as how it affects our first responders' ability to get to, I mean, these fires, I can't believe how many fires are in Chesapeake right now. Our first responders are overworked. They're stretched. They should have been funded in 2018 when they asked for funding. Okay. Yeah, we're destroying the environment, and you want to cut me off 10 seconds early last time. You want to raise, you want bonds to fix what you messed up. Some of them are 95-year loans. You're not even going to start work. You want to raise roads above the, you know, the floodwater. Okay. An ordinance to appropriate 9, $525,547 to the clerk of the circuit court operating budget, Ray technology-related expenses. This is the circuit court. If we appropriate, and we have a budget, which Mr. Moss used to pay attention to years ago, we shouldn't need a $500,000 more, you know, at this time. We have $3 billion debt and $3 billion budget. That's not balancing the budget. We have debts. And I don't care if it's AAA, 100A bonds. It's bonds, it's debt that we and our grandchildren and great-grandchildren will be paying for 95 years.
Okay, open a hearing on planning, and the first one would be number 4.
Okay, so I'm the only one on this one? Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, number 4 is where we'll start.
Okay. Martin Sneed and Linda Sneed, street closure, 7.5 feet by 50 feet of a street closure, portion of unimproved alley, I think these are called paper streets. This is in Croatan, 828 Vanderbilt District. You know, speaking of beaches, the Port Authority is going to give some sand, chip in some sand for Shore Drive to replenish what, you know, Westminster Canterbury is destroying and all these other condos over there. But you still haven't fixed the problem with sand for Croatan. I've held up pictures of, you know, the erosion there. People are paying a lot of money. Okay, so I'm in opposition to all these street closures and alleys and et cetera. Okay, are there any more?
Yes, ma'am, number 5.
Okay, Atlantic Park. No one else is here. We used to have all these, groups that paid attention to the finances. And City of Virginia Beach, Public-Private Partnership, Economic Development Authority, for a street closure portion of 18th Street between Pacific and Arctic, District 6, Mr. Tower Beach District. Okay. Okay, I'll hold up this because there wasn't time before. But, since 2018, we've been coming, speaking on the budget, against the arena project, against light rail, against the dome and all these other projects, the pier project. It's not as if, many of us, I'm almost the only one left that dares come up here. This was, what was the first one? The dome project. It's not even, decorated like the dome anymore. You tried to make it look like the dome and use historic land credits. Then it was Generation P. And then it was the wave. Kelly Slater's the only one that has a real artificial wave that works. And you want it, with all our water problems and flooding and utility problems, you want to have a wave and an entertainment venue and condos and take over our last municipal parking lots, which haven't been, for parking for us. There's serious problems going on in the world, and y'all just spend your money and push through whatever you want, and it's really, really sad. I don't know how y'all sleep at night. Okay, and I've held this up before. No, I don't know where the camera is. I didn't mean to sit in the background, but I need to be able to see and hear. No new debt, stop corporate welfare, stop restricted access to city government, public beaches, parks, and roads, stop corporate welfare, taxing the poor and middle class for private developers and their pet banks, stop new debt bonds, which are taxes, abolish taxpayer-funded economic development authority. They create debt, and they're not paying it down. We haven't paid down the convention center from 2002. I won't say those two things. I've said it before. Mr. Dyer's eyes.
If you can move on to the
Okay,
next.
all right. I'm being nice. I'm not. Okay, so,
Number 6. Planning, number 6.
okay, I was going to read more on the dome, but planning 6. Let's see. Design change of non-conforming and redevelop existing duplex with a taller, larger duplex, Seaview Avenue in Bayside. So I assume that Mr. Jones and the other council members have viewed this and researched it, which of course I haven't had time to do. 8, Virginia Beach Development Authority and Lin LLC. Let's see. I can find this one. I'd love to know how many people in here actually read the agendas. And when Miss Abbott said that she's never sat in here, a lot of people that run for office don't read the agendas. They don't come to these meetings. Okay. I'm using up my time, but this is important because when I looked this up, another public-private partnership, that corporation has not, recorded their, their filings. They're not current. So And this is Princess Anne. I assume Ms. Henley has done her due diligence on this. This conditional zoning from B2 Community Business District to Community Business District and Light Industrial. Y'all consider light industrial the Owls Creek, where you destroyed, I think, 70 acres of natural wildlife preserve for battery manufacturing. There's too much business, and everything should be free enterprise, and we should not be, using jobs, creating jobs. It's not your duty to create jobs. It's to get out of the way and let people fairly operate in the business and bid. A lot of these things are not bid items. Okay. Amanda?
Number 9.
9. Wesley Boyd Capital Finance, modification of conditions for a tattoo parlor. I grew up in Norfolk. I remember when they cleaned out the district with all the, strip joints and tattoo parlors and everything. And they didn't have all of these things on every street corner and shopping center where our children can see it. There's vape shops, there's cigarette sales. The vape stores did not have to close with the pandemic. I just think there's too many in the locations I don't appreciate. I don't think our children should have to drive by and look at all of this stuff and get ideas. They have enough problems and they're bored and they're in trouble. Okay, and this one is modification for a commercial kennel.
No, ma'am, that's being
Okay.
pulled.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you say 10. Okay.
11 is is on consent for deferral to 9/7, September 7th.
Okay, but if it's on the agenda, we can still speak.
Yes, ma'am, I'm just letting you know it's on consent for deferral to September 7th.
Okay. Because it doesn't say that on this printout. Okay. Elias Properties, Virginia Beach Independent LLC, conditional change of zoning from B1 neighborhood business to conditional B2 community business, operated commercial retail, and that's in Centerville, and sadly, Miss Wooten isn't here. But, okay, so that's all for now?
No, ma'am.
Nope. Oh, that's right, it's, what did I count? 9 and 15,
Number 12,
okay. I'm just confirming that there's too many meetings, people can't keep up,
number 12.
the world's going to hell in a handbasket, and y'all just keep churning away, popping out, everything you want to do. Witch Duck Medical Associates LLC, conditional change of zoning from A12 apartment district to conditional O1 office district, office type uses, North Witch Duck Bayside. You honored Andy Friedman and what's going on, and we have a lot of problems with the homeless, and that homeless shelter that we paid $30 million for, it's regional. And, everybody went out and then you put them in hotels. So we need affordable housing. We don't need to be taking away any apartment housing districts and changing it into to business. Okay. 13?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
14,
Okay, I didn't hear you say pull that. What
I
else is pulled?
haven't said anything. I'm going as you're going. Number 14.
Okay, all right, thank you. Carp Development LLC, conditional use permit, eating and drinking establishment at the corner of Fisher Arch and Princess Anne. Does anybody have a clue how much money we've spent to subsidize the cafes and the breweries? A couple years ago, it was $4 million. It was $750,000 for Green Flash, that y'all spent money recruiting them from California, and then they there's too many ABC licenses. You give it out like how, candy at Halloween. Everybody gets one. It's so irresponsible. And the ABC stores deliver alcohol. You don't know who's really getting that alcohol. All you know is that the alcohol lobby is huge, and it helped fund Mick Waters, and y'all gave him $100 for his rocks special. I mean, like I said, this place is a mess, and I wish people would pay attention. I do know what I'm talking about, and there's just too many special deals for special friends, and that's who votes and funds y'all, and it's really sad. Okay,
Number 15, and this is on consent for withdrawal.
okay. All right, so let's see. Conditional use permit for home occupation, retail sales. Okay, I'm just letting people know what it is. Okay, 16?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ordinance to amend section 242-1 of the city zoning ordinance, tattoo parlors and body piercing establishments. I wish, some of these people that, act like they care what the residents have to say would ask questions or tell me what this is. All I know is we have a pandemic. Of course, what I think about the pandemic and what could have been done, it should have been done, et cetera, and you're pressuring your kids and teachers and everybody to take these shots. There's all kinds of illnesses and ways that people can get sick. Tattoo parlors and body piercing establishments, they're all over the place. Like I said, what is family friendly? What have y'all done for family friendly? You honor the Boy Scouts for attending a meeting. A lot of people attend meetings, but it seems like our future is with the people who still pay attention, because these Boy Scouts can't vote yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Wood, consent agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, move for approval under the consent agenda under ordinances and resolutions. Item J1, ordinance to amend city code sections A 2-20, dates of regular city council meetings, B 35-158, 35-159, and 35-161, tax on transients obtaining lodging. Item 2, resolution to approve participation in the Virginia Abatement Fund and authorize the execution of a settlement allocation memorandum of understanding. Item 5, ordinance to authorize temporary encroachments into a portion of city-owned property known as Pike Island located at the rear of 329 Teal Crescent. Rebuild and maintain an existing dock and construct and maintain a proposed dock addition and bulkhead. Item 6, ordinance to authorize temporary encroachments into a portion of city-owned property known as 352 Tuna Lane, located adjacent to 2713 Bluebill Drive. Maintain an existing riprap revetment, block wall, and bulkhead, and construct and maintain floating pier and access ramp. Item 7, ordinance to authorize temporary encroachments into a portion of city-owned property located between the Sandy Beach and the Boardwalk by Oceanfront Investments LLC. Remove 2 sets of existing wooden stairs and construct and maintain 2 new sets of wooden stairs, noting that Mr. Moss is voting nay on that item. Item 8, ordinance to authorize temporary encroachments in a portion of city-owned property known as Lake Joyce in the 25-foot strip of city property around Lake Joyce located at the rear of 2344 Bayville Road. Construct and maintain a vinyl bulkhead, pump house, boat ramp, and wood dock. Item 9, ordinance to appropriate $525,547 to the Clerk of Circuit Court operating budget technology-related expenses.
I open a public hearing on planning.
Under planning, item K4, H. Martin Sneed III and Linda P. Sneed for a street closure for a 7.5 foot by 50 foot portion of an unimproved alley adjacent to 828 Vanderbilt Avenue in the Beach District. Item 5, Atlantic Park Incorporated and City of Virginia Beach Development Authority for a street closure portions of 18th Street between Pacific and Arctic Avenues in the Beach District. Item 6, Atlantic Park Incorporated, City of Virginia Beach Development Authority for a special exception for alternative compliance for a maximum building height, setbacks, and types, including several conditional uses for residential, commercial, structured parking, indoor, outdoor entertainment venue, and an outdoor surf park located at the block bordered by Arctic and Baltic Avenues, 19th and 20th Streets, and double block bordered by Pacific and Arctic Avenues in the Beach District. Item 7, designed by Alini Incorporated for a change in nonconformity, redevelop the existing duplex with a taller and larger duplex at 2416 Seaview Avenue in the Bayside District. Item 8, Virginia Beach Development Authority and Lynn LLC for modification of proffers and conditional change of zoning from conditional B2 Community Business District to conditional B2 Community Business District and conditional I1 Light Industrial District, readjustment to corporate landing business park boundary for an expansion of appliance and service business at 1941 General Booth Boulevard and a portion of corporate landing business park, District 7, Princess Anne. Item 9, Wesley D. Boyd Capital Finance Incorporated for a modification of conditions for a tattoo parlor at 172 South Plaza Trail, Suite E in the Beach District. Item 11, and this is consent for deferral to September 7, 2021, Elias Properties, Virginia Beach Independence LLC for conditional change of zoning from conditional B1 neighborhood business to conditional B2 community business where they operate a commercial retail store at 2749 South Independence Boulevard in the Centerville District. Item 12, Witch Duck Medical Associates LLC for conditional change of zoning from A12 Apartment District to conditional O1 Office District where office type uses at 4501 North Witch Duck Road in the Bayside District. Item 14, KABP Development LLC for conditional use permit for eating and drinking establishment at the corner of Fisher Arch and Princess Anne Road, west of 2033 Fisher Arch in the Princess Anne District. Item 15, and this is consent for withdrawal. That's Jeffrey Heitkamp, Jeffrey and Melanie Heitkamp for a conditional use permit rate, home occupation retail sales at 1140 Cordova Court in the Princess Anne District. Item 16, ordinance to amend section 242.1 of the city zoning ordinance for a tattoo parlors and body piercing establishments. So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? The vote is open. Good job.
By a vote of 10-0, you have approved the consent agenda read by Vice Mayor Wood, noting Mr. Moss's nay vote.
No, abstain. I
I'm sorry,
abstain on
you-
item 2, and I want to give my reason for my
Okay,
I had you
abstention.
as nay vote on number 2.
That is,
I'm sorry, number 7.
that is correct. I'll explain. I'm abstaining on item 2. I've been recusing myself from all the executive discussions on this particular thing. I have substantial stock holdings in Vanguard Select, which is a closed mutual fund, which has investments across these pharmaceutical companies, and therefore while maybe not required to abstain, I'm taking the better course of action and abstaining on that item. As regards to my no vote on item 7, this particular property has access to a public access at 42nd Street. I do believe our current approach, certainly for commercial properties along the oceanfront, should take a different approach. Rather than granting encroachments, have people seek a lease or other cases, because we are now encumbering 200 square feet of oceanfront public property for the landings of these stairs. That property has a value of $70 a square foot, which I've confirmed with the city assessor, $14,000 a year. That means that's 200 square feet that our residents can't use because we've encumbered it with private property. And I think that there should be a different approach where the public receives compensation for the loss of a public beach use.
Okay, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Mr. Moss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I asked the clerk to note that I filed an abstention notice with you on item J3, which is the Westminster Canterbury on Chesapeake Bay ordinance on the basis that I abstained when the zoning took place previously, and the situation, to my knowledge, hasn't changed to where I need to abstain on this one, too.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, at this point, we'll move forward with ordinances and resolution J3. Resolution to authorize the issuance of residential care facility revenue bonds rated to exceed $110 million by the City of Virginia Beach Authority, Development Authority, Ray Westminster Canterbury on Chesapeake Beach.
We have 2 speakers. The first speaker is Barbara Messner, and after Ms. Messner is Todd Solomon.
the developers are not here. Okay, authorize issuance of residential care facility revenue bonds not to exceed 110 million by this development authority. That's air debt. It's not the development authority debt, it's the taxpayer debt. I attended the meeting that, I don't know if this, I don't think this is the one that went till 1:30 in the morning. But at the convention center where we should be having these meetings until this building is rehabbed. Like I said, they just approved this at 9 a.m. this morning. We're destroying the beach. I lived over there on Starfish. I watched the second building, being erected, and the pounding, those pilings and everything. And then they took over the land, took over these beautiful condos. They eventually bought all those out. And the historic fishing pier, the Lynn Haven fishing pier is gone. Locals used to go over there to escape all the traffic and congestion at the oceanfront. Now it's nothing but condos, beach erosion, and they get tax exemption for being a medical facility. Hopefully Todd will, mention all these things. He's spoken on this before, but sometimes he agrees with y'all. But like I said, the beaches are destroyed. You've been putting sand as long as we've had the beach. You've been trucking the sand in. All the burrow pits are gone now, or almost all of them are gone. I think Taylor Farm still has some, and then there's some near Nemo. But you destroy our property. Our beaches, our waterways are contaminated. Look up the health department maps of our waterways, the contamination. And I really didn't expect right off the bat, somebody new to be voting, 10-0 without doing all the research. I would wait until I had time to research this. Thank you.
The next speaker is Todd Solomon.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer, City Council members. My name is Todd Solomon. I'm a resident of Cape Story by the Sea, and I'm here speaking to you as a citizen and taxpayer tonight for the issuance of these revenue bonds in support of Westminster Canterbury. I'm a bit confused and concerned about the issuance of these bonds. My confusion comes from the fact that this whole process, roughly about a year ago, a little over a year ago, this whole process for conditional use permit and approval of their new development, the developer stated that they were the biggest and the best, and they're the only ones that could actually build this giant iconic structure, and they did not need any city funding at all. No support from the city. That was the benefit. You guys get all the benefit of the taxes, but you don't have to take any of the taxpayer dollars. So we're really surprised to see that they're actually coming to you for financial support for the $110 million that they need to build this. Our concern, my concern, as a taxpayer, I make investments based upon risk versus reward. The investment here is all risk on the city and no reward. If the developer is willing to build this without getting bonds, then why should we take the step forward and make it a risk upon ourselves, and we're getting no reward for it because they're already going to build it without these bonds? So my understanding, I don't understand, again, why we have to do this. I hope that you will explain that as you vote on this bond, of why you think that we need to support the developer when he spent many, many times saying he did not need our help. So I thank you, and I hope that you will reconsider the issuance of these bonds and let the project stand as it should on the developer, like they said. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the speakers, sir.
Okay. All right, at this point, do we have a motion? is there a motion?
I would ask if Mr. Adams, if he's in here, could explain the development, what these bonds are.
But shouldn't we have a motion and then discussion first?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, yeah,
Yeah, we have to have a
we should
motion.
have a motion
Well,
first.
I mean, I think the fact that maybe some misinformation has just been given out, it's important to clarify it, because this is not city money.
Yeah. Okay, at this point, let's get the clarification, because I think there might be some confusion up here. Okay, Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor. Procedurally, can I speak?
The mayor's calling you, so you
Okay,
can speak.
very- Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. It's great to be with you tonight, and Ms. Henley, thank you for the question. It should be noted that this, as it relates to this expansion, this is a $110 million investment in our community by the team at Westminster Canterbury. It is not the city's debt. It is not the Development Authority's debt. The Development Authority is simply acting as a conduit issuer of industrial revenue bonds that would, on which it will actually earn money for the city off of the fees associated with issuance. So, to the question specifically, this is not the city or Development Authority's debt, and as you all are accustomed to me doing, the attorney that worked with us on this item is in the room, and would love to invite him up to correct anything that I said that was incorrect, but I believe that's all accurate.
That is correct.
All accurate.
Okay.
All accurate.
Okay. All right.
I move approval.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, any discussion at this point, Mr. Moss?
Well, I didn't vote for the rezoning, so it's not surprising I'm not going to finance the building of something I didn't vote to rezone. But what was left out of the explanation is, so you can talk to your federal folks, this is all driven by the IRS code. And it gives the borrower special consideration and gets to borrow at a cheaper rate than otherwise they would be able to borrow. So this is all about either sustaining, increasing, or maintaining a desirable profit margin by getting easier access to credit. So the people that take exception to the offering, the right people to address your concerns are to your members of Congress. But I didn't vote for the rezoning, but voting for this is enabling something that I don't support, which is increased density, which the whole civic leagues in that area said wasn't necessary. So I'm voting no.
Okay, any other comment? Okay, at this point, the vote is open.
By a vote of 6-1 with Councilmember Jones, Councilmember Wilson, and Vice Mayor Wood all abstaining, you have adopted the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, resolution.
All right, moving on now. Yes.
Do we want to state our reasons?
Oh, okay, yeah, we have some abstentions here that we should
Right,
report.
I'm abstaining because I had to abstain, and the last vote because I have a conflict, and my conflict has not changed.
I have the exact same situation as the other two.
Okay,
I
Mr.
have all the
Jones.
letters on.
I've already explained my abstention.
Okay,
Yeah, there's a letter on file.
okay,
Thank you.
okay. Right, moving on to ordinance number 4, to approve a cooperative agreement between the City Council and the School Board, rate legal services provided by the School Board and School Administration by the City Attorney in fiscal year 2022.
There's one speaker, Barbara Messner.
Okay. Would you repeat that, Amanda?
This is number 4.
Oh, up here, okay. Yeah, this is another thing with due process and consent agenda. Everyone should vote on each item individually. I have big concerns about parliamentary procedure and how these votes are taken and how you pull something out. But there were a lot of people that had conflicts, and that should be a supermajority vote. That was not a supermajority. Okay. approve a cooperative agreement between the city council and the school board, Ray Legal Services. We haven't had school for over a year. And to the school board and school administration by the city attorney, 2022. And Mr. Moss, you know, you voted against the cooperative agreement, and your speech was really good. I wish you would repeat it. But as frustrated as I am with y'all, the way the parents are treated at the school board meeting is atrocious. So we had a budget, you know, it has nothing to do with budget, it's agreement. The school board, you know, gets federal and state funding, and they have their own attorney, Linetti. You know, we should not be mixing, as you stated, you know, our city attorneys. I mean, Kay Wilson, Dana Haymeyer, Rod Ingram is here, Mark Stiles is here. You have all these people here. And they also go to Economic Development Authority, they go to planning. They were nonstop, but it's always for the developers, it's not for us. And the school board also, you know, has real estate properties. You know, they're in the, so, you know, I oppose this, and I would appreciate it while I'm still here instead of when I sit down, if you would repeat what you said before, because I appreciated it then. Okay. It's okay. A lot of people do know what you're about.
That's all the speakers, sir.
Okay. Mr. Moss, I think,
I'm not going to be making a motion to approve, but I do plan to have discussion, so.
okay, at this
Move
point,
to-
motion to
I
approve.
move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, Mr. Moss.
Yeah, as you know, I have consistently not voted for this, mainly because I think we're asking, now our city attorney serves two masters, the school board and us. So when we have questions about the constitutional performance of the school board, whether it's their gun-free zone, which they're now contemplating, or other issues, the city attorney gives us advice, but we don't know what advice they're getting, because that's client privilege. And maybe our agenda and their agenda aren't the same, but we're both have the same city attorney. So now, when we say, nope, he's got direction where we're at, and it differs, he then tells them to hire private people because he's got a conflict. So, to me, and I'm just going to give you an example, I know many of you weren't here back then, but I went up and researched this particular lawsuit, which I know Les Lilly was here at the time, I believe. This is April 27, 2001. This was a First Amendment case that was filed against the school board, which they lost. And this is the, anyone wants the citation, it's Bach versus the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach, 139 F Supplement 2 D 738 ED Virginia 2001. And this was the particular phrase, the particular part of their bylaws, and this is relevant to what I'm going to come to in a moment as to why I think we might want to give our 90-day notice. But this is the phrase that the court struck down as being unconstitutional and ordered in favor of the of the plaintiffs. And it read, avoid references, statements, or conduct reasonably likely to result in disruption or undue delay in the orderly transaction of the business scheduled for consideration by the board. This provision means it includes but is not limited to attacks or accusations regarding the honesty, the character, integrity, or any like personal attributes of any identified individual or group. Such comments are prohibited because by virtue of their personal nature, character, and/or manner of presentation, they would fairly call upon for an immediate response by the person or group so identified, thus delaying or disrupting consideration of agenda items scheduled for consideration by the board. Well, the court struck that down. Unconstitutional. So what we see, and I don't want our city attorney and our office having to be caught in the grips of defending actions that are not defensible, and I think they should have their own attorney so we don't have a conflict. And I think we should have a serious discussion. I know that we've been offered that that might be forthcoming, but I think it is time for the school board to hire their own attorney, because I don't think we want to put our city council and our city attorney as defending the actions that's taking place across down the road. They're not defensible. And we shouldn't put ourselves in the situation of having our city attorney and our folks associated with that type of behavior. We may not like the public's behavior, but the very thing that they're doing has already been ruled unconstitutional against the very school board that's down the road. So I didn't have that plain example, but here it is. I'll provide it to anyone. But they need to have their own attorney. I don't want to see our folks, our city attorney, having to defend the lawsuits that are coming or defend their social policies of gun-free zone and other things that create tremendous public disruption, and then we're a party to that. So I think you ought to give serious consideration, is this really an agreement that we want to continue and to put our city attorney with divided loyalties? I think the answer is no, and I think we should give, if you adopt this, 2 weeks from now, we should give them their 90-day notice to secure their own attorneys. And I think you will see the wisdom of that as the times progress with how they conduct their business and the positions they take and the litigation that grows.
Thank you. Mr. Wood?
Thanks, and I agree with much of what Mr. Moss said regarding the school board needing their own attorney. I would just point, though, that it's a process that we're undertaking here, and if the third paragraph in the agenda request form says the city council's directed the city attorney's office to explore ending the agreement and having the school board separately contract for its legal counsel, and the city attorney's office is evaluating the steps necessary to do so. And then it goes on to talk about the city council is going to discuss this issue at September retreat. Either party can terminate the agreement on 90 days notice to the other party. So I think that at least my recollection, the council several months ago made this commitment that we wanted to do this, and I believe the city attorney has his office working through it. I think to cut it off now would create a significant budget hole in the city attorney's office and that sort of thing. So I think I don't disagree with doing it. I just think it's how we get there. So that's why I support, going forward as Mr. Stiles works to unencumber the two.
And it'll be discussed at the retreat. Anybody else, Mr. Tower?
Well, I would just say that Mr. Moss's conclusion that the school board may need separate counsel on the basis that he did is well-reasoned, and I don't disagree with it. But I disassociate myself, as we go along in supporting this, with his attack on the management of the school board. I think it's unnecessary. I think it's wrong. And I just am noting my disagreement with it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else at this point? Okay, vote is open for approval.
Give us just a second, it's not open.
Okay.
Never mind.
This is. I'm sorry, give us just a second.
Okay, hang on, folks.
It's open. By a vote of 8 to 2, you have adopted the ordinance.
Okay, 13. Okay, in order to accommodate somebody here with a special request, we're going to go to item number 13 at first, and that's going to be Winters Properties LLC's Hayes Furniture Company Incorporated and C.H.&B Associates LLP for a conditional use of zoning for A12 Apartment District and conditional B2 Community Business District to conditional B2 Community Business District, Ray 3.91 acres, and conditional use permits Ray Auto Storage Yard and Car Wash Facility at 325, 349, and 361 Nelms Lane, District 2, Kempsville.
Billy Garrington representing the applicant.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor Wood, Mr. Jones. I was just getting ready to leave the council chambers because I knew I was much farther down the agenda. And I don't know, I'm not sure exactly why this is being heard this much earlier. Is it because of somebody?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an accommodation, sir.
Good. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the members of the council, my name is Billy Garrington, local consultant here on behalf of this application, Winners Properties. And as you probably know, Winners Properties is Checkered Flag Auto Group. The request that you have in front of you today is a rezoning from A12 to conditional B2 on the property on the west side of Nelms Lane. This property will be used in conjunction with a new Audi dealership that is getting ready to be built on the northeast corner of Nelms Lane and Virginia Beach Boulevard. Not physically attached, but it's right across the street from the new dealership that will be built in the very near future. The request comes to you with a positive recommendation from the Planning Commission. We were in front of the Planning Commission a month ago and received their positive approval, and it is about 3.5 acres of property that's going to be rezoned. There's a two-part request here. One is for a bulk storage yard. The second part is for a car wash that will be built sometime down the road. The car wash will not be done immediately, and I want to make sure that everybody is of the understanding that that car wash is not for the public. It is only for the dealership's cars that are on that property. So everybody looks at it and thinks it's going to be a car wash like Auto Bell or something like that, that you're going to have cars backed all the way out into the right-of-way. It's not for the public. It's only for the dealership's cars. That car wash has also been relocated on that property from where it was originally planned, which was all the way back on the north corner of it. It has been moved as far to the south and the west as we can. On the property that we own, there is one other small parcel there that we are renting, but we can't put the car wash on that parcel because we don't own it, and there's a condition in the lease that if they ever need that property back for the Haynes Furniture or the Lazy Boy store or whatever it is, we have to get off that property immediately. So that's the best description I can give to you of the property, and we know that there is opposition to this. We have met with the opposition. Mr. Corte and I met with them just last week. We've tried to listen to their conditions and to their concerns, and we have tried to craft the proffers that you have in your packet to make sure, number one, we are going to be a good citizen and we're going to be a good neighbor. But there are some things that are just out of our control, and I'll try to briefly highlight those as quickly as I can. First one is traffic. Nelms Lane is the only way in and the only way out for the people that live back behind this property that we are getting ready to rezone. We have told them that there will be no parking on Nelms Lane. There'll be no unloading of cars on Nelms Lane. But what we can't tell them is there's not going to be traffic at Nelms Lane and Virginia Beach Boulevard. We heard them talk about how several times a day they pull up there to try to make a left-hand turn to get out of Nelms Lane going east on Virginia Beach Boulevard, and the traffic's backed up. Well, if that's happening before we even put a shovel in the ground, it's not because of something that we're doing, but we don't want to make it any worse. So what do is we talk to the city about coming up with maybe a no right turn several hours of a day on certain days of the week when the traffic is worse. But it is our position that with the commercial establishment we're going to do here that's only for inventory, we think it would be far less traffic and far less new vehicle trips a day than it would be if this was developed as residential. This property is zoned for, you could probably have 20 or 25 residential units there if it wasn't being developed like this with no input to the neighbors. They would have it all. So you'd probably have more vehicle trips associated with that than you will with this, which just is going to be used for inventory. This property has got a good landscape package to it to screen this project from the surrounding properties. We have agreed to lower the light poles to only 14 feet above ground. There's only a total of 9 light poles that go with this anyway. All the lighting will be shielded and will be directed in so as to not to illuminate the surrounding properties around it. So we've tried to do everything we can. There's going to be some glitches while this is under construction, no doubt about that. But we're going to have no parking on Nelms Lane. We're going to do all the unloading on the property itself. And let's face it, when the boulevard was widened and the feeder roads were taken away, the car dealerships up front right on Virginia Beach Boulevard have a tough time offloading and loading the vehicles that they have, their inventory vehicles coming in. So we have tried to do the best we can with the proffers that we have to try and make sure that we're going to be a good citizen and a good neighbor. The Checkered Flag family is a local people that live in the city of Virginia Beach. If you have seen any of their other facilities, They're very, very well maintained, and I think this one will be the same thing. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Mr. Moss?
Well, I'm a checkered flag customer. I agree that the Toyota place is well operated. But I have seen, and I brought this to the city's attention, people stopping on the boulevard at 2 o'clock in the afternoon unloading trucks, which I can't believe they don't get stopped for. That's just ridiculous. That'll be done at some other time at night. But so are we gonna be driving these cars to this inventory? Or you said you're gonna be unloading the cars on the lot?
That's correct.
Can you, when I look at that parking situation there,
Well, that parking situation you're looking at, since this is bulk storage, the city has told us we don't have to stripe it off if we don't want to. You can park anywhere on the property
so
you can.
this isn't a representation of how it's gonna look when you're done?
Well, that's a representation of what the parking lot's going to look like. It just won't have all of those individual parking spots that you see marked off on it. It'll
Okay.
just be used for bulk storage.
So-
And you've only got 2 entrance ways there, and one of them is for emergency.
So you will be pulling the tractor trailer
That's
with
correct.
the vehicles? And they will-
Onto this property, to
where-
offload them and then come back out.
Okay.
They will not be done on Nelms Lane.
And there'll be really no employees at that site, except at the car wash facility
Only
when it
when the
opens?
car wash is open.
Okay, and that's just inventory only?
That's correct.
Okay,
And there'll be no junk dismantled or inoperative vehicles stored there, and it's only for the vehicles for the dealership.
I appreciate it. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you very much for
Anyone
your
else?
time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Janet James, and after Miss James will be Barbara Messner.
Good evening, sir.
Hey, man.
How you doing? Doing good.
My name is Janet James. This is the first time we've been at one of these meetings, so we didn't bring enough oxygen. So thank you for letting us come up early. My husband said I could talk for both of us. I gave you written remarks, and I just want to stress, we're not mad at nobody, okay? As an attorney, I understand this is a lawful process, and its staff has been wonderful. I don't have any complaints. I do have a difference of opinion because my husband is a disabled veteran. All of this up here, I mean, that looks fabulous, but I wish you could come to where we live at. And it's going to change where we live at. And so I read over notes from the last meeting very carefully, so I know what the objections are. But here's what I don't get. I read that the owner of that property, they have a right to make a profit. I get that, but as residents, this is our home. My husband is a disabled veteran. That's not for sympathy. That's to tell you we used a VA loan. We paid top dollar. That means the asking price plus we added $1,000 because we were so impressed with our new community. And when we saw those orange signs up, we're like, what in the world is this? So I have no argument that they're going to do everything they can, but the bottom line is, do their rights trump our rights? And I can promise you, if you were there in person, you know, like I said, that's very nice, but it's a lot different. So thank you for letting us come and express our opinion. We're saying we don't want it, but we're also saying we understand this is a lawful process. And if you vote that their right to make more money, or money, well, anyway, I'm not even going to go there. With my last remaining minute, the solution that we have is like, well, wait a minute. You're 10 miles from Oceanfront. Build some more housing. We need more housing. So it's not like the land would just go unused. But, okay, that yellow light means something. Thank you. Anything else, Fred?
30 seconds.
Oh, you're doing good enough, huh?
Okay, and thank you. We didn't bring enough oxygen, and we're already on the reserve tank. So again, thank you for letting us come. But this was important. This is our home. It's our home. And you have written remarks there. And thank you for listening.
And thank you, and sir, thank you for your service. Really appreciate it.
God bless America and God bless Virginia Beach.
Yes.
You got it. Thank you, sir.
Same thing.
You don't get any easier.
Thank you. The last speaker is Barbara Messner. And Ms. Messner, I hope you don't mind, but I called them before I called you. Thank you. Ma'am, we were just made
Okay.
aware.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm speechless with y'all. With all of their, you know, rescue people all over the place, you know, I think they could have supplied something. I saw them trying to help earlier. But, yeah, this says staff denial. Nobody mentioned it says staff denial. Well, like I said, I'm just horrified at y'all and your votes. It's a traffic issue. And to take away housing, she mentioned housing. You know, and like I said, I don't mind saying it. Andy Friedman, preservation, there's so much blight in some neighborhoods, and you allow these major carriers and all these trucks that deliver to Harris Teeter, 7-Eleven, they block the roads all the time. That's why the roads don't hold up. There's just too much traffic. You know, I don't know how y'all can sleep at night if you allow this, but you know, y'all push through everything else. This is just obscene. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, rebuttal?
Mr. Carrington?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I'll be as brief as I can. I appreciate the people that came up here and spoke in opposition, and again, we have met with them in person as much as we can, and all I can do is tell you again that the checkered flag people, it's in their best interest to be as good a citizen as they can and as good a neighbor as they can. Just like you heard Mr. Moss say, he's a customer of theirs. There's probably several people who live in that area back behind them that drive cars and could be customers of theirs. So it's in their best interest. It behooves them to do everything that they've said they're going to do in these proffers to make sure that they are good citizens and that they are good neighbors. And I appreciate you taking the time to hear this. And again, I think that with the proffers that we have given you and with the conditions that are on this, I think it can be done, and they can both coincide side by side. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, do we have a motion?
I move to approve, Mr. Mayor. I'm familiar with this property, and I've walked this location, and I think it's good land use.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Moss?
I'm voting for this application, but I did want to applaud the staff for giving us, I think, a good scrubbing of this project and a perspective that needed to be captured. And I think, and I do really appreciate that very much. And I took that to heart, and I went out and looked at that property only because I go by there quite often. And people can disagree, but I did want to compliment the analysis that you did.
Hey, Mr. Rouse?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to press a button for it there for a second. I just want to echo the sentiments of Mr. Moss, in really thanking the staff for the work that you all have done to really listen to the community as well. When I was reading and going over this particular project, I noticed all the proffers. There's at least 10 proffers in this, so it's quite restricted. But I think it's a fair balance to try to reach a compromise with the community as well, and to the applicant for being proactive and meeting with the community who had concerns about how this particular development will affect their community. And so, again, I just want to thank the staff for your work on this, and I think I want to thank the applicant as well, because it's not every day you get an applicant willing to have as many proffers and restrictions to meet the concerns of the community. So thank you.
Anyone else? And, thank you, Mr. Rouse and Mr. Holcomb. I'm familiar with the, property. They got some very nice homes in back of, the location, but it's right behind where Haynes is, and it's kind of a commercial, and then we go to back residential and everything. Very nice community in the back, but I really think that if we're going to, look at the good neighbor policy, and the fact that they're going to be willing to work, and, the stellar reputation of, checkered flag, once it's in, once it's development, I'm pretty confident they're going to be good neighbors. Okay, so at this point, the vote's open for approval.
By a vote of 10-0, you've approved the application.
Okay, moving back to planning item K1, Thomas A. Brown for a variance, section 4.4 B and D of subdivision regulations to redirect access to a public street and street line frontage requirements at 2888 Indian River Road, District 7, Princess Anne.
Eddie Burdon for the applicant.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer, Vice Mayor Wood, honorable members of council. I'm here before you on this application and the following application. Mr. Brown, the applicant, is here. You all have heard this 2 weeks ago and had a staff briefing on it last Tuesday night. This particular application involves two parcels that were created 60 and 57 years ago, one of which had a house on it for 58 years. And we're proposing to reconfigure the boundary lines to make them more conforming with today's requirements. The no increase in density whatsoever, and consistent with our comp plan and the interfacility traffic area. The conditions which you all have and which have been added to since the hearing 2 weeks ago. Got to adhere to this plan. You actually have a plan that shows the widened road and a turnaround at the end, which will be decided exactly the configuration during the subdivision process. The 15-foot existing private road will be widened to 25 feet with a private ingress-egress easement, a private utility and maintenance easement, a declaration of easement that imposes that on all of the properties involved, including the one in the middle, the Lot 3, that does not require any variance whatsoever, so that all of these 5 lots will be connected by private force main to city sewer rather than using septic tank. And Lauren Lane will be improved to hold an 82,000-pound vehicle so that it satisfies the statewide fire prevention code. The 20-foot tree buffer we've agreed to retain on the lots that adjoin existing lots in the villages at West Neck. And even though the Lot 3 in the middle is not a part of this application, my client has agreed to put that same condition, or agree to create that same 20-foot tree buffer on Lot 3. So all of those lots that abut parcels, smaller lots in the villages of West Neck, and these are all acre-plus lots, will include a 20-foot tree buffer adjacent to the lots in the villages of West Neck. The only condition which I communicated to staff and they communicated with you all that is not one that my client is willing to accept is number 6, which would require a process that involves the modeling of stormwater for the entire subcatchment, and will take multiple, based on history, multiple runnings of that model at tens of thousands of dollars of cost. Again, these lots, this configuration is different, making them better, more conforming, and more consistent with our comp plan, but the lots that are already there are buildable as they exist. And so what will happen without that condition, which was added, is that each of these lots will have to go through individual site plan submittal and site plan review. None of the water coming off of these properties, stormwater, will be permitted to go, nor will it go onto the adjoining home sites in the villages of West Neck. They will be on-site drainage and then into the existing drainage system to Indian River Road public system. So we are in agreement with conditions 1 through 5 in the revised report that you all have from city staff. And with regard to the back two, if you want to do them both together, those lots are even, excuse me, the front two, those lots are even older, again, all legal, all non-conforming, and by just adjusting the property line, we have a better development for everybody's purposes. And the easement for the sewer, private sewer, is shown on this exhibit here, and you can see on this one that's up now, the hammerhead at the end. Although that hammerhead may wind up being something other than that. That'll be something that city and the emergency services, when we go through the subdivision process, it may change somewhat, but so that vehicles can get into and out of, turn around. In addition, because these lots are so large, there will be fairly lengthy driveways, and typically in an emergency circumstance, especially if it's a fire, they're going to go up into the driveway, and my suspicion is that they'll probably have circular driveways on some of these lots, if not all of these lots. But as far as the existing right-of-way is concerned, there will be a turnaround satisfactory to city staff and the emergency services. And
Okay, Mr. Burdon, at this point, I think Mrs. Henley brought up some major concerns that I think we have to address at this point.
Right. I think we're pretending that this other plat that has been posted on the multiple listing service by someone August 8th was the last update. We heard it August 3rd, so I'm assuming this is right. I can't pretend that this doesn't exist, and I thought Mr. Tahan called you about it yesterday.
I got a phone call from Ms. Smith. There has been, according to Mr. Brown, there has been a listing of Lot 3, and that's the only lot that is listed on the MLS. There's only one lot, Lot 3, and it's been listed for over a year. In fact, there's even been a site plan that was submitted on Lot 3 for a house, and I think it may have even been approved, but it has not been contracted and sold. The other, what Mr. Brown did was he put Lot 3, listing it when he started this process, and he put that on there as well for the purpose of someone who might be interested in Lot 3 seeing what he had in mind in terms of the property moving forward. That's his explanation to me, but there's no listing. In fact, there's nothing anywhere in what you're talking about that's specified. In fact, it says the exact opposite, that none of those properties are existing lots for sale. Only Lot 3. That's the only lot that is listed in MLS or has ever been listed in MLS.
But this design shows that Lot 5 is planned to be much different from what we're looking at here.
Again,
and these people, I was at the home of these people who are adjoining this yesterday when they were talking about one thing and I was talking about something else. But if this is his intent, then I want to know it now.
It is not.
No, sir.
It is not.
I think when he showed.
Please, Eddie.
No, I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
When he's showing that the other side is subdivided, and this is what it appears to be his intent ultimately, and I can't. He's got a credibility problem.
Well,
I
don't want to interrupt.
approve this.
Okay, well, all I can say to you, Mrs. Henley, is that when he started this process over a year ago, and I can bring him up and let him speak about it, that's what he put up there so that if anyone came along for Lot 3, they would see what he had in mind. There is no way that Lot 5 can change to be anything other than what is before you tonight. That cannot happen because it's a condition of approval is that's the lot. He just never took it down is the issue. But that's apparently what he had in mind when he started, and he started working with your staff before I was ever involved. Again, I was retained after this was on the agenda back in the spring or late winter. I had no idea of this, but the point is, and I've looked into it, nothing was listed other than Lot 3. That's what his concept was. But in the meantime, he worked with staff, and Lot 5 that's you're seeing today is all, if it's approved, that's all it can be, unless they come back through this process, and he has no intention of coming back through this process. The other two pieces, there are two pieces, but apparently there's some discrepancy between whether that's the right configuration that exists in the deeds, they're old deeds, or something that's on the city's composite map. I don't know the answer to that one way or the other, but I do know that he does own the rest of that property that's shown on there, but it's not going to be a part of Lot 5. It cannot be a part of Lot 5 if this is approved. And it can't be a part of any, if he builds as it currently exists, it's not going to be a part of that either.
Okay, could I ask Mr. Wood?
Well, I wish somebody had called me yesterday after I had called Mr. Tahan at 10 o'clock yesterday morning, but I never heard anything back.
Oh, I apologize.
And I was not able to tell the people that I was meeting with any explanation because I had no response.
I explained it to Ms. Smith, and she indicated to me that Mr. Tahan was going to talk to you and had told you what I just told you, that it was only Lot 3, and he had,
Okay.
there's no.
I heard from no one.
Okay.
I apologize.
If I can follow up, because I understand what you're saying, but I don't know if you've actually read this document or not, this MLS listing. And the reason I say that is and I understand what it indicates, but it says check out Lot 3, but then it goes on and says you can buy these other lots at pre-development prices. It says check out the detailed info in the documents section and the other lots available that are next to this one. I mean, it's clear as a bell, and that's why, I mean, I understand that there are ways to list things on MLS that, as you know, so you can list multiple things under one heading, and so, I mean, I get what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't look good, is all I can tell you.
I'm not here to tell you, first thing I said was, get it off there. I don't know what you were thinking, but I also will mention that he had a lot that's adjacent to this off Candle Pine at the same time this listing was in as well, that was for sale.
That's
So,
the picture that shows.
well, no argument there, but it clearly is only Lot 3, and no lots have ever been contracted for other than.
I don't think it's only Lot 3, but, okay, Mr. Bellucci, Ms. Wilson.
That's not accurate. Mr. Mayor, I'll defer to Mr. Tower, who I think could be more concise and articulate than me.
I was just,
Sir, not yet.
I was just going to observe that I think Mr. Bourdon said it well. Whatever is in here, the bottom line is whatever is in this listing or description is not what governs what you can do with that lot. It's what we say. And even looking at this ad, I see there are references to the fact that that city approvals are required. So it's not. I'm not questioning anybody's vote on this. I'm going to vote in favor of it because I believe it is a better deal for the citizens than developing these lots on an as-is basis. There are issues about the whole developing in this area of the county that Lord knows I'm not as up to date as many people that live there and work there and lawyers and others that deal with this all the time. But I simply can't use as a reason not to vote for it that that there was a listing that may have indicated some intent different than what is before us tonight. The application speaks for itself. It seems to me to be regular. It does seem to me, as been indicated, that staff had operated on it as well. I'm going to support it with all due respect to Ms. Henley's view, and I said I don't question her vote on it all. But for me, I think I'll stick with what we can do here and not worry too much about intent. We have enough problems dealing with what's right in front of us, much less worrying about what people's intent might have been at one time or another.
Okay, Ms. Wilson.
Eddie, I'm a realtor, and I have a problem with this. I mean, it's assuming, it's putting out there an assumption that approvals are going to be made for those lots, which is, it says it's going to take 6 months or so for city approval of lots, but they can be sold, and you can get pre-development prices. I mean, there's a big, I'm just going to tell you how I feel. You
I
don't have to
understand.
react, but I'm a realtor, and I think that's misleading to the public as well. That's my opinion.
No, I'm not going to defend it being put, that picture being put up there. But officially, well, the best part of this is that, if you want to find a good part, there's no one has submitted a contract to buy the lots. So no one has been, defrauded or whatever the case may be. And Mr. Brown would, and when I talked to him yesterday, he said, he would not have accepted a contract until, the lots were created, if they were created.
And
So,
is Mr. Brown a realtor?
yes,
It says,
you can ask
Tom
him,
Brown
you can
is
have, I
realtor.
believe he is, but you'll have to ask him that question. I don't want to answer for him on that.
Okay, Mr. Bellucci, and then maybe we can get to some of the other speakers.
Well, thank you. And I just want to take a moment to read what's in the, I guess this listing that's been the subject of much discussion. It says, it's going to take 6 months or so for city approval of the lots before they can be sold. But you can get in at pre-development prices and pick the lot you want ahead of time with a good deposit. So it's not the way I would have written it, but I think the important part here is the statement, it's going to take 6 months or so for city approval. So there's a disclosure in this listing that city approval is required. And we all know, and I think the reader is intelligent enough to know, the city approval isn't a given, and it's a foregone conclusion. And so I don't think that, even though it's not how I would have written it, and I certainly respect those members of council who take exception to the way that it was written, I don't think it was misleading because it clearly states that approval is required. And I just wanted to share my perspective on that.
Okay. Maybe at this point, we can hear some other speakers.
I think
Anything else, Eddie?
I think it was misguided. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. But I don't think anything illegal took place. If I'd been asked, I wasn't involved, I would have said no. So I'm not sitting here trying to defend it, but at the same time, I want to make sure that it's understood that there are a lot of worse things that happen and can happen, but it should not have been, that picture shouldn't have been put up there. Thank you.
I'll just try to figure out what that said. Yeah. Okay, that was good. Thank you, Eddie.
The next speaker is Barbara Messner, and then we have one speaker via WebEx that we'll go to after Ms. Messner.
I was here for this meeting, and, we asked for a little bit more time. You just schedule it for the next meeting. There were a lot of people that spoke in opposition. They can't come every single time you have a meeting. And a lot of people, they don't like coming to this building. There are flood issues. There were issues brought up that these houses that he has on there now that do not have septic tanks and water. They're contaminating the surrounding neighborhoods. That is a health concern that y'all are liable for. I held up the thing on the bond referendum. 25 years, 35 years, 95-year planned. You don't plan to fix anything. You just plan to kick it down the road and let the next developer and the next developer, whoever ends up with it, So, yeah, and it's due process. You voted, and then you said, oh, no, and then you changed your vote, and then you said one was deferred and the other, you separated them. I mean, the due process is ridiculous. And to, Eddie Burdell, or R.J. Nutter, same thing. It's like a game. It's like a game. And people's lives and their properties are at stake. Yeah. I'm disappointed in a lot of things tonight, a lot more than I expected. Thank you.
The next speaker is via WebEx, Lisa Clarkson. Ms. Clarkson, if you will pause 2 to 3 seconds before beginning, you are unmuted and may begin.
Wow, I'm taking all of this in right now. I'll speak for the people in West Neck. They have called you repeatedly for over a year and a half because of what he has done to that lot right there is directly causing them harm. Not a single employee with your city was able to help them. I've done the same thing. Mr. Brown showed up adjacent to my property, which is wetlands, trying to take records in there and tear down what is protected. It is misrepresentations like this that you guys cannot overlook. This is not just one situation. Right now, he has the lot next to mine listed now that they can buy, if they buy this lot for $200,000 more than he paid for it, because it's not buildable, they can build a house next to the road, but it's got to be close to the road. That is not true. When the city did not respond, I had to get the Army Corps out here. The Army Corps was the only entity that could stop him from working. A couple months later, there's a sign up, and on Zillow it says it's for sale. He has some plan with VIMS. I contact the Army Corps. They tell me they've never heard anything. He never contacted them back. What is going on that you do not see that these things are being manipulated? I can pull up the MLS. Every realtor sitting on that board can tell you right now, they can pull it up and tell you when you entered information. He has another one here that's listed in Blackwater. See info in the docs. The city confirmed that it's buildable. No, they haven't. And he's selling this for twice as much as he bought the land for. You can't allow this to happen. He had a contract that fell through on my house, the one next to my house. He sold acreage up there at the corner of Indian River and North Landing. He's already filled in like 2, I'd have to say 10-foot areas in the drainage ditch on Indian River Road. How do you overlook this? I don't understand. I'm glad Ms. Henley went out there yesterday and talked to them and saw what was going on because they are very frustrated. But when these older people are being taken advantage of by a builder and you're having them just excuse us away as some condition or another condition, no, this is a pattern. This is what they're doing. You have yet to put your foot down and say, stop. This cannot happen anymore. Take their land. You have the authority. Your attorneys are not working for the citizens. They're working for whoever gives them money in their pocket. You are allowed to do it. You can't let this happen. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But I will get back to you on West Landing. That's it for this one.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Burdon?
Let me begin by apologizing to Mrs. Henley for not having personally called her to explain what my client told me was going on. I did have, anyway, I just didn't have time, and I was told that Mr. Tahan was telling you what I had told them. So, and I wish I had had a chance to do so. The statements of Ms. Clarkson, again, are so over the top. My client has not violated any laws. There's no evidence that he's violated any laws, and she makes these assertions. These properties are not in the southern watershed buffer. He hasn't gone out there and cleared the trees. He has cleared underbrush, which he is totally allowed to do. In fact, it probably keeps some of the critters and what have you from being close to the people in West Neck. But he has not he hasn't filled in any wetlands. He hasn't filled in and broken any laws whatsoever. Your staff will tell you that he's worked with them many, many times on many, many cases and not had any problems, and they've had no problems with it. Neither has the Corps of Engineers or anybody else cited him for violating any laws whatsoever. She doesn't want this house next to her built, I guess, but I don't know anything about that. But this is an application that is a good application. He's put a lot of capital into buying these properties. He could have flipped them and just built on them the way they were, but he's trying to, he's not going to say that it won't potentially be profitable, but there's a lot of risk and there's a lot of capital that's got to be put into the development, whereas just selling them the way they were and putting in a 15-foot road, it won't be nearly as good a situation as this is. And that's what I think ultimately should win out. And if I'd been involved from the beginning, that would never have been, that listing of the Lot 3 with the picture would never have been out there on the computer. That's for fact.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, do we have a motion?
Yes, I'm figuring out what it is. I'm thinking an awful lot. And I sent several emails to several people today in staff and didn't get a single response. But I think one of the things that Ms. Clarkson said was that it's time we put our foot down. And I think that's what it is, because this area out there is being messed up bad. And I know the threat is that these can be built just as they are if we don't go along with this. Well, I think I'm going to have to take that gamble, because when I look at what's happening to Indian River Road in this area, I cannot say that I approved its continuation once I realized how bad it is. I told you all 2 weeks ago how bad it is on Riddick Lane, which is just up Indian River Road from that, because that was built and is being built with a 15-foot private lane. I noticed one of the things that he calls in this listing a private lane as being a very nice amenity. Well, has he explained to the people that the private lane means that it's not owned by the city and the city is not going to be maintaining it? They are. I don't think these people who are buying out there realize that, and they don't realize what a mess that they're buying on Riddick Lane, and I simply cannot go along with continuing it, even though Lauren Lane will get a little bit better if we approve this. It's not going to be better for the people who are joining it in West Neck villages, because a 20-foot buffer isn't going to do them much good. They're very much concerned about the fact that this area is very poorly drained, and he is not agreeing to do what that 6 would have done, which was use these together to come up with the drainage. And one of the emails I sent this morning to staff said, wait a minute, I just kind of also thought that when Bridge Church was built, we were very concerned that it not be built where the future alignment of Indian River Road was to go. All of these places are being built right where I'm sure we would be planning to do some improvements to Indian River Road at one point. Indian River Road is an extremely dangerous road, being made more dangerous by all of these individual driveways that are now being cut on there because of the fact that it's been discovered that these old lots are there and are buildable. And that very narrow road, which happens to be a major east-west artery to the southern part of the city, and especially Sandbridge on a busy summer day, with its deep ditches, no shoulders, we're going to have to improve it for safety purposes. And we're making no provision of that because these houses are being built without any widening capability. Now that we're aware of what's going on out there, we've got to say, hey, wait a minute. We've got to look at this. It's our responsibility to look at what's happening at this section of Indian River Road, and we've got to decide that we're going to do the best we can to clean up the mess we've allowed to have happen out there and not let it continue. I cannot make a motion to approve this. I would defer it indefinitely until we can get some answers out there. And so my motion is going to be to defer it indefinitely.
Is that both items? Is that both items?
Pardon?
One is
Both items?
1 and 2?
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we got a motion to defer both items 1 and 2 under planning, okay?
Definitely.
Okay, we have motion and second.
We have
Mr. Rouse?
discussion?
Yes.
I'd like to ask Mr. Tahan, can you, for my sake and for my clarity and for clarification, this property owner has the right to develop this by right without any of the revisions? Can you just walk me through that so I get a better understanding of what is he allowed to do right now, and under consideration revisions, how would this be an improvement?
The previous layout noted here has the potential to be developed as, where it says existing on the left side, and Councilmember Rouse, with a 10,000 square foot parcel to be developed and the larger 2-acre parcel to be developed as is in their current form and their layout. In exchange, as noted in the staff and the agenda request form, the applicant in his request is requesting to more evenly distribute the parcels and then provide the improvements to widen the lane and provide sewer connectivity to each of the lots. So,
So as it stands right now, he can just sell it, and that is just no sewer improvement or anything like that?
That is correct. He could sell these lots as they stand now, and again, the smaller lot had, as Mr. Burdon noted, had a home on it previously, and then the other lot is a recorded legally existing lot. So they have the development potential for one home on each lot.
And under the revisions, you said he could add sewer, and what is it, and sewer?
No.
No, you can't get sewer.
The fire lane, or the widen the driveway from, or the access to 25 feet, with the lane itself being 20 feet wide, and it meets the fire code's requirements for, to allow for an emergency vehicle back there, as well as the 20-foot buffer that goes along the residential properties on West Neck, the villages of West Neck, and connection to sanitary sewer in a manner that's approved by public utilities. And then the condition number 6, which the applicant does not agree with, which is that the lots that access the new lane would need to go through a multi-lot site plan review for comprehensive drainage.
So with the exception of number 6, that's, okay, I think that's what I was confused with. But with the exception of number 6, then all the revised conditions would be an improvement upon the land, just so I understand.
I think that's a value judgment for the council, sir. But
I mean, because right now there isn't a buffer, there isn't all parcels shall connect to city sanitary sewer service in a manner subject to approval by Virginia Beach Department of Utilities. There isn't that. There isn't a 15-foot private road to 25-inch width and a record or declaration of private ingress egress. Still, Laurel Lane is not improved. So none of that. None of that is. I mean, as it is now, that's that. But under these revisions, they could be implemented.
Yes, they could be implemented under these conditions that would be part of the subdivision variance. That's not saying that previously they couldn't do that on their own if they wanted to, but
If they wanted.
right.
Okay, I just want to understand. But as it stands now, he could just sell it as it is, with no improvements. But under the considerations that we impose in here under the revisions, that would be an improvement if council decided to support that. I'm just trying to make sure I understand it clearly.
It would, again, I apologize. Improvement is a value judgment for the council.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
Say improvement. I should say additions.
Correct. These would be additional requirements that would not, if it's developed in its current form, would not be a requirement that my staff could impose on them.
All right, thank you. I needed for that clarification. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Moss?
If I remember correct, Mr. Tahan, I asked you to do a drawing, and you did provide it, which you did mention here, that he could build an 1,800 square foot home on the existing 10,000 square foot lot. Is that not correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
After he abided by all the subsets, so the lot is developable. Now, I am surprised, however, because there's a gentleman, which I know Mr. Jones is very familiar with, a guy who tore down a house and built a house way back. You know what I'm talking about, with the big mailbox? Yeah. And he was required to put in a substantial road, and he wasn't getting any variances or anything. He had to put in a road and put down, crush and run and pave it so that a fire truck could ride on it, and he wasn't getting the variance. He was building on a single-family lot. So are you telling me that someone can build on one of those lots with that access and doesn't have to build a road and proffer to build a road sufficient for a fire truck? Are you telling me that so that guy in my neighborhood did something he didn't have to do?
I'm not familiar with that situation, Mr. Moss, so I apologize for not having that data. But the currently now, as it stands, it would essentially just be a long driveway that they would have access to, to provide access to these lots.
But it would not have to support a fire truck.
Correct.
I will certainly be following up with, because I know an exact case in my neighborhood where that exactly was the case. So I'll be very interested. That's kind of interesting. But I did want to make sure Mr. Rouse knew that the lot was developable with an 1,800 square foot house. I think the real issue here, which I think Mrs. Henley talked about taking the risk, someone might want to buy a 1 acre lot on Indian River Road. I don't know if you want to buy a 10,000 square foot lot on Indian River Road. So in reality, why they have by right development, true, but what's executable by right in the marketplace is not the same thing as the legal rights you have to develop. And I think that's the point Mrs. Henley's trying to make, is we've got bigger issues here and to deal with, and is this how we want to approach it? And so I think that we got to put, indefinite deferral does put more pressure to get more transparency and things that better fit, because this one by one thing is going to leave us with hodgepodge things that we aren't going to want to be able to service. People are going to buy those homes, and I remember back in the day when we had people on septic tanks in parts of the city and private sewer plants, you may recall, I know Lewis and Barbara do, and then all these things don't work, and what do? They come down here, and then we end up spending public money to fix private problems, because now their septic tanks don't work, this doesn't work, when it rains heavy, these problems come back, and then we end up spreading the cost. The developer took the profits and we got the bill. And that's happened more than once. And I'm not saying that will happen here. I'm just saying it has happened. These are problem situations. Why are we volunteering and enabling to create future bills for ourselves? I think Ms. Henley's had more experience at that than I have down there, but these will come back to haunt us, I do believe.
Okay, we have, yeah.
I have a comment. I think Mrs. Henley's absolutely right in what she wants to do. She's asking to defer this so that it can be improved. If the gentleman is willing to do that, then I'm sure when it comes back and it's appropriate, he'll probably get what he wants, but he's going to have to make a better project. That's what it comes down to. So.
And no more multiple listings.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I could just be clear, if in case there was any misunderstanding, and from my clarifications as well, I think as the district rep, Councilwoman Henley brings up a solid point. I just have a different perspective on it. And I think my perspective is different in the case of trying to understand what do we have now and what do we have basically in the proposal going forward. But I most certainly do support a deferral in hopes that we can come to a better agreement, a situation for those who Councilwoman Henley represents in her district.
Okay, at this point, the vote is open. It is for unlimited deferral.
Indefinite.
Indefinite referral.
For 1 and 2, correct? Thank you. By a vote of 9-1, you defer these applications indefinitely.
Okay, now we'll move on to the final item, which is item number 3 under planning, Robert Nelson et al. On a variance to section 4.4B of the subdivision regulations of floodplain variance in section 4.0 of the floodplain ordinance, lot access and development, single-family dwelling at West Landing Road.
Mr. Burdon,
One more after this, okay. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council. This application involves a piece of property that has been in the Nelson family, Nelson, Gray, Davis, heirs, since at least 1958. That's the title work that I was given, only went back to 1958. Ms. Nelson had a tract that was 2.783 acres in 1972 with 458 and a half square feet of street frontage, and she did what a lot of people did back in the late 50s, 60s, and to the mid-70s, deeded 1.37 acres with 245 linear feet to Mr. Eaton, who had property on the west side of this, leaving this piece of property, which again, at the time and today, but for the 2001 enactment of the floodplain subject to special restrictions, the lot that you're here looking at met all the requirements of the AG or AR zoning district, excuse me, in 1972, and it meets all of the and met all of the requirements size-wise, width-wise of the AG ordinance we have today, except in October 2021, that floodplain subject to special restrictions was put in place where the land doesn't count if it's in a floodplain. And so that's, why we are here, is to, just so this can be platted, and staff and planning commission totally, this has happened before, it's not the first time at all. It's a lot that could have had a plat recorded back then, could have had a plat recorded anytime prior to October 23rd, 2001. And the family has another couple, Debbie Bryn Mason and her husband Frank. And Ms. Mason is a Pungo native. I'm not certain about her husband Frank. He may be a come here, but they have contracted to buy the lot from the Nelsons. All the people down here at the end of West Landing support this request. They've designed a house that's going to be built on stilts, on pilings, doesn't affect the first tree, and keeps the maximum amount of impervious surface, the maximum amount of permeable surface, the least amount of impervious surface, just the short driveway and the parking pad. The parking pad under the house will be elevated, to get it out of the flood zone. The finished floor will be many feet above the flood elevation, so there won't be any flood issues whatsoever. There will be no disturbance of the upland non-tidal wetlands on the property whatsoever, and the conditions as recommended by staff are acceptable to my client. You have any questions? And then that's it.
Okay, next speaker.
we have two speakers, Barbara Messner. And then after Ms. Messner will be Lisa Clarkson, who is virtual.
The Brown was two separate items. They weren't supposed to be voted together. And deferral, for how long? When are you going to bring it back? Indefinite could be you pop it up again. And, very few people can see that monitor. At the convention center, there was a huge screen and we could see it, that tiny monitor. The people in the back, and only the people right there can see it, but not up close. Mr. Tahan doesn't get up and go over there. But on the city's, Ms. Henley's comments about, the traffic and the lanes. When the Military Aviation Museum, they're very popular. They were the #1 attraction in the city. when they were having their shows, which were very popular and bringing in a lot of revenue for the city made them pay for a turn lane. Do you remember that? Y'all were here, most of you were here. So you can control what goes in. And, you know, this property, you know, it sounds great, but Mr. Burdon, you know, he is so rude. You don't have to insult people that speak. You know, it's obvious that he's passing the buck on what somebody else did before he took over. But, you know, those other properties are contaminating land. And this one I haven't researched. I'm just speaking on the process and the fact that you can control what goes on, and you're liable when you don't. The reason the Public Works people protest was because they have to work on all these things. I mentioned it the last time, all the, you know, storm drains that are broken. Everybody's taking your munchies, you know, eating while we're speaking, going on breaks. It's just rude, and I don't appreciate, you know, the disrespect for callers. You ask us to be respectful. Don't assume that somebody doesn't know what they're talking about because they don't agree with you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I could just, I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege. Please have a seat, Ms. Messner. You're welcome to have a seat. I think one of the I rarely make comments, but I feel compelled to in this moment because the previous speaker came and talked about insulting speakers and that when people speak, they don't need to insult others. But what we've heard for the last 3 minutes and for many, many hours and minutes before that are a series of insults. And I can take it. I don't mind when they're leveled toward me. But I do not appreciate it when they're leveled toward my colleagues here. And I especially don't appreciate it when they're leveled toward members of the city staff who work very hard on behalf of the citizens of Virginia Beach to serve our community. And I particularly don't appreciate it when they're leveled toward people who are here to speak on behalf of the people they represent or on their community. And we hear that time and time and time again. So, Ms. Messner, I respectfully ask that you take your own advice. You have a right to say anything that you want, but I respectfully ask that you don't insult others while you have your 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Messner, I'm sorry, you're out of order.
The next speaker is Lisa Clarkson. Ms. Clarkson is by WebEx. If you'll pause 2 to 3 seconds before beginning, ma'am, you are unmuted. Thank you.
I'll try to be nice. No, okay, this may be a little bit more than 3 minutes. I am not opposed to this agreement. Everyone around there agrees with it. I am once again using this as, yes, this did start next to my property, and you will not believe what I found south of Indian River Road being built when you have not done your due diligence. So here we have a notice for West Landing Road. Even the mayor was like, West Landing Road, that is not sufficient to provide notice. This one's fine. I'm just saying in the future, you have to give people notice or they're not going to know what's going on. Here we are again with a by right from 1972. Sometimes, but not for the reasons that they stated. It's very easy to look up and see whether or not this was taxed with an improvement. It was not. It was taxed as land. You cannot use a 2014 precedent to try to apply that back to 1972 and pretend like the heirs did not know that there wasn't a property there. It's obvious. They're selling all the properties to build, which is fine. So now, you heard Mr. Borden. He said he could have flipped them and built anyway. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening down here. They are parceling off these 1 acres from this 10 acres or from this 7 acres. They are sending personal letters and they're paying people land value because the people know it's not buildable. But somehow something's being built. Why? By right. By what right? By whose right? You have not run water. You have not run sewer. whose right is that? So I kind of conversed with the purchaser on Facebook, and she said, "Yeah, okay, her well and septic is going to be 100 feet away." That's wonderful. You are not the only lot in this city. You are not the only lot that requires a well and septic. I notice here you did not have to do the wetlands survey. Okay, you don't consider it wetlands. When I looked at the permits, I did see some Army Corps permits pulled for something that would have been caught if you properly transitioned agricultural to residential. The reason why they section that off and you're supposed to give it to a family member is because your family member knows. They've lived in it. They know exactly what's required. Here, they know. You build these pseudo mansions, they don't know. So now I'm looking at this parcel and I'm like, holy cow, it's on the North Landing River. It's very small. How in the heck did this pass for you? You can't, the drainage field, it's not enough. I can tell you, I live here, it's not enough. So apparently the percolation test, the letter's dated December 2019 for a test that took place on.
Mr. Burdon?
Council, do you all have any questions of me?
Any questions for Mr. Burdon?
Thank you.
Thank you.
This property at the end of West Landon Road has been in the Nelson family for generations. It's got a great background, and this is one parcel that is being sold, one of the last parcels, probably someone within the Nelson family, but I'll move approval.
Second. Motion is second. Any other discussion? Vote is open.
By a vote of 10-0, you have approved the application.
Okay, there is one more. It's item number 10, Cosmos Corner Incorporated, KNRM Enterprises LLC, and Nelson Industries LLC for modifications of conditions for a commercial kennel at 503, 505, 507, and 511 Central Drive, and that's in the Beach District.
Nicole Sincavage, are you the applicant, ma'am? Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you very much. I am Nicole Sincavage. I am the applicant and one of the owners of Cosmos Corner. Cosmos Corner has been in business in the same location for 14 years. My mom and I started the business with just the two of us. Now my husband and I run the business, and we have grown to about 30 team members. We bring in a great revenue for the city. And we actually were just voted #1 dog daycare in the whole state of Virginia. And there we are, right there. You don't get that, you don't get there by cutting corners or doing things the wrong way. In 14 years, we have not had a complaint or a violation. We provide a convenient and much-needed service for the citizens of Virginia Beach and its surrounding cities. We provide boarding and daycare for many of the medical professionals, first responders, military, as well as the private citizens. They really count on our services. During COVID-19, we also took all necessary precautions to remain open and operate safely while providing continuing employment for our staff. I do believe there may be some concerns about how we handle waste from the dogs. Storm management was out for an inspection, and we have a report from them. I believe that was included in your packet, but we do have a copy as well. Their report stated that the water from our yards does not go into the storm drain system. When they inspected, there was no odor apparent, and that we weren't doing anything wrong. Also, in addition to that, we had the water tested from an independent laboratory, and it shows there's no fecal matter or bacteria in the water. We have that report here if you'd be interested in seeing it. It's not waste, it's just water coming from the yards. We also clean every night with a power broom to make sure things are kept neat. The canine grass that we have in our outdoor yards have antimicrobial blades that start to break down any waste immediately. We also use an enzymatic cleaner that actually eats the bacteria, removes odors, and we have information on both of those if you'd be interested in seeing it. As far as disposal of feces from the dogs, that is picked up with a poop bag or pooper scooper, put into a garbage bag, and then double bagged and put into the dumpster. We believe that is the proper way to take care of that. We really take extra steps to make sure that we're doing things properly. Our location is ideal for an animal care facility. It's industrial and away from any residential areas or businesses such as restaurants and retail. Also, we had to get the approval from the Navy, and they have deemed it's an appropriate use for the space. We are asking for a modification of the conditional use permit to increase our space so that we can run smaller and safer play groups for the safety of the dogs. Last month, we did receive approval recommendation from planning. I believe we did have many letters of support sent in, as well as some that should have been included in the supplemental folder. I hope you all had the opportunity to read those. Again, I want to stress, we've been a reputable business in Virginia Beach for over 14 years. We kindly ask for approval of our modification of our conditional use permit. I'm here to answer any questions or concerns you may have.
Any questions for the applicant, Mr. Rouse and Mr. Tower?
Thank you. Oh, I'm Mr. Rouse. I'm over here. I'm the only 6'4" guy.
Not close.
Well, you're right. I got my two other. And Mark, that's right. That's right. Can't forget my West Virginia buddy. First, I just wanted to say thank you for the services you provide in our community as well. As a big time dog lover, and especially throughout this pandemic, I know a lot of families have had to make the tough decision of sometimes parting ways with a significant family member. And not to mention, you being a small business as well, I can imagine the obstacles that you probably had to overcome throughout this pandemic. And so a comment to my colleagues, I think this is a perfect example of the small businesses we should look out for when it comes to using our ARP funds as well. But my question to you would be, with the expansion of your kennel, are you expanding your workforce? Are you hiring more, or is it just an expansion to provide more space for?
Just to provide more space. We're pretty set with our workforce. Not to say that additionally at some point we would need more staff, but that is just to provide more handlers into the groups for more safety.
All right.
Not for additional expansion.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Tower?
Thank you so much. I want to echo what Mr. Rouse said about your 14 years is a long time for any small business, and one that you succeeded. Congratulations on your award. Everything I've seen is you're a great asset and much loved by your customers and a good neighbor. I've just got a few concerns that have been raised by one of your neighbors that I just want to explore. Excuse me, I had it here and then I lost it. Tell us about the outside portion of your property and how you use it.
Sure. So our facility is indoors, but we do have several outdoor yards for the dogs to go out just for a little bit of recreation and for potty time. It also provides the complex, I'm sure you've seen the plans, is multiple suites throughout the complex. So some of them were not connected. So the yards, the fences and yards actually connect the buildings so that we can move dogs safely from one building to another without having them in a non-enclosed area or putting them on a leash. The that's how we use the yards. We rotate. We have several small play groups. We separate by size and temperament of the dogs. We also have inactive dogs and things like that. So we have multiple small play groups. We rotate them throughout the day. So they may be in one section having relaxing time, and then go to another indoor section where we have some equipment for them to play on, and then they go to the outside yard to have potty time, recreation, and then they come back in. So throughout the day, we're constantly rotating these dogs.
So do you know why your conditional use permit now doesn't refer to outside, speaks only to indoor
Yeah, I'm not
use?
sure. Now that you're bringing this up, when we looked at the conditions of the conditional use permit, it stated about having an indoor facility, which I took that as we can't house dogs outdoors, which we would never do.
I mean, overnight.
Right, or for long periods of time. We are an indoor facility, so the yards are only used for transporting the dogs and rotating the dogs.
So when, on this outdoor facility, which it's fenced in, from it looks to me, it looks like, I would say it's kind of like where you might expect a parking lot to be otherwise if you drove up in there. Tell me about the cleaning process for that.
Sure. Well, some of it is on just grass that was there in the complex, and a little bit of it is
Natural
on the
grass, right.
natural grass, and a little bit of it is on the asphalt of the parking lot, so that we could come over the doors. We have one entrance going in, and then the facility kind of spreads out. So we have the fence over those doors so that we can move throughout. So that's what I was talking about. The turf that we have in there itself is natural grass. Natural grass is very hard to keep with a large group of dogs. So the canine turf that we have in there is made for things like that. It has the antimicrobial blades, starts breaking things down. We really take extra care. We have actual staff that are dedicated to yards and cleaning. So every night they go out there with the enzymatic cleaner that we have. We buy this by the 55-gallon drum. It's very expensive. Many other businesses and dog daycares don't use this type of thing. But that's what actually breaks down any smells, bacteria, and things like that.
Tell me what happens during the daytime, if you would.
During the daytime, we do have small kiddie pools out there for the dogs to play in, and
I'm talking about the cleaning process during the daytime.
the cleaning, we don't like to use a chemical during the day, so that's used at night. So we're just spot cleaning if there's any messes. There's not really a lot of cleaning that has to be done during the day.
Do you hose the area down during the day?
Sometimes, but that is usually just for play with the dogs and to sometimes keep the grass cool because it gets hot from the sun. So we're not doing a total cleaning of the yard during the day.
How often do you have water running out of that property?
Well, in the
And
summertime now, it's,
on.
in the summertime now, it is almost all day because we have the kiddie pools and we dump them depends, every hour or so maybe, as they get warm or hair gets in them from the dogs, things like that. So we're dumping those,
So you're not hosing down the area to rid it of urine or the neutralizer or whatever else you put on it during the day?
no, if a dog defecates, we're kind of just
Picking it up, I got that part.
spot,
right.
well, we're just
Yeah.
spot cleaning
I'm
that.
just trying to understand what's happening because, I mean, I've seen photos during the day with water running down, from your, looks like from your property in front of Mr. Griffith's operation. I'm just trying to get a sense of what.
Right, yeah, the
from you,
water
what
that's
you're
coming
doing.
down, like we said, is really, the grass itself is also slow release. So if a dog urinates, it doesn't just go right through the grass. It's holding up in the grass to let the chemicals do their job on it. So the water that's running off, and I'm not sure if council understands the property, unfortunately, this is the way the property was designed. And when the storm management came out, they looked at that to determine if that was an issue or problem. And the way the property was designed was there are trenches. Of course, we are mostly in the back, and they run forward to, I guess what they called them was BMPs, small retention ponds in the fronts of the property. So storm management determined that those do not go into any storm drains, and that.
I'm not worried about storm drain issues. I'm just worried about what goes on the ground in your property that may come, including water.
It is water. Like I said, I am very, it's unfortunate that they took that space there, and water does run down because of the design of the property. But at the same time, we're not doing anything wrong
Do you
with
plan
it.
to continue to use this property in this way under the, if your conditional use permit's extended?
We would like to, of course, we do want to be good neighbors, so we are always looking for options.
Okay.
And
I
things.
just have one more question, if I may,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. Are you willing to consider some alternate way of collecting the liquid waste from this product, at least during the daytime hours?
Okay, sure. So I just want to clarify, it's not liquid waste, though. We had it tested, so what they're saying is wastewater runoff, and that's not what it is. It's just water. But of course, we're open to looking at other options. However, what we've found out is it's not easy to make water run a way that it's not designed to run on the property. So we're having issues coming up with a solution to that. It's made to run there and go in that area. Like I said, unfortunately,
Okay.
they took that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. Next speaker?
Paulson Cabbage. And then Betty Page Broyles.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm also an owner of Cosmos Corner. Nicole's my wife. I just come up to let you know that we do go above and beyond anything that you could possibly imagine to make sure that we're good to all of our neighbors. We actually have we have letters from our neighbors that were there for 10 years, explaining just how we go over above and beyond. Again, I just want to stress too that water, I had that personally tested. I went to a laboratory. My wife has the paper, unfortunately, so I can't read off of it. But there's no fecal matter in the water, and there is no, she said it's the name of the bacteria that is really what you're looking for, that is going to really that would be a health issue. That woman told me that she was very impressed at the fact that coming from our daycare, that there was zero found in that water. And I'm not making that up. I'm not here to give you guys any kind of stories. I welcome every one of you to come out at any time you want, no notice, and just come and look at our facility. I'd be more than happy to give you a tour and show you exactly what's there.
Okay. So you wouldn't happen to be from New Jersey, would you?
No, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
And Mr. Rouse, what is the matter with the People's Republic of
I
New
just heard the
Jersey?
use on there, I just heard a little accent, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get together for coffee and talk sometime.
But yeah, and I'm here to answer any question you guys may have. I personally spoke with the storm drain department. I spoke with the head of the storm drain department because he came out later that afternoon just to have a conversation, to take a look for himself. Him and I, Adam is his name, him and I, we went through everything. He looked at it and he said that, from what he sees, everything is doing what it's supposed to do. He doesn't have an issue with it. I do understand that Mr. Griffiths is upset because there's water in front of his property that's running on that concrete flume. However, him and I also had a discussion, and he asked me about it before he took the space, and I explained to him that, it's been this way. There is water that does run there. It will do it throughout the day, and it's not a constant stream like they want to say. Sometimes there is, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of water that goes there, but there's also water that will lay there because them properties were built back in 90s. So the concrete has settled a little bit. But again, I take every precaution. I have a power broom that I wash it down with. It's a gas-powered broom. We make sure that everything is taken care of, that there is nothing there to make anybody sick or to do anything of the kind. So again, that's just what I like to say. And again, if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer any of them.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Betty Page Broyles, and then Mary Ann Grotto. Miss Broyles? She's not here. I have her in person. She's not online, so, okay, she's not online. Mary Ann Grotto, would you? Well, I haven't gotten there yet. Is Miss Grotto here?
We got some motivated speakers
Are
tonight.
you Miss Grotto? Grotto?
Didn't leave. Hey.
Okay, great, oh, thank you. And then Miss Cowan.
Welcome.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I'm Mary Ann Grado. I'm the original. Me and my daughter started it. I got the original conditional use permit. We didn't know much about it then, but we've been there 14 years, and now that, we've taken on some more suites, we're like, and my daughter and son-in-law are running it now. I'm trying to kind of be retired, but I'm still working there. I just don't have to run it anymore. And we always pride ourselves on no smell, keeping everything clean since we started, inside and out. And we'll do a tour anytime you want to come there. We'll take you on a tour.
Can you play with the puppies?
Pardon me?
I'm sorry.
And we pride ourselves on that. As far as the water going down, when it rains, the water runs there. I mean, and it pours. It pours. The water just come in, hit our doors. So Paul put new door on, he fixed it different. But the water lays there. That's what it does. And at night, he makes sure all the water's gone, that there's nothing left in it. And that's why we buy those chemicals and all. And he could tell you that. I don't know what goes into that. And but but we've always pride ourselves on this. And we're there for the dogs. I mean, we started it because we never wanted to board our dogs anywhere. So everybody knows we love the dogs. They get that feeling when they come in. Our staff, they know their names. They're happy when the dog comes in. But as far as the water, it lays there from pouring rain. This is what I don't get. And it's not that we're running urine. No, it took us a long time to get that canine grass. That's really expensive. So when we first started, of course, we didn't have that. We had sod, we'd change it out. My daughter would get it and I'd go pick up a load and we'd put, well, that was forever ago, okay. So finally, we got to afford the canine grass, and that's what it's made to do. It starts to break up all that yuck, whatever, in the blades. So at night, we, like I said, Paul takes care of it. He makes sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. So I appreciate your time.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara Kalman, and then Alan Barr.
Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, and City Council. I'm only here to support a very good family-owned business. And I can tell you from my heart what they have done for my dog. I have a very spoiled corgi, and she absolutely loves going there. They have a fine staff that is well-educated and continuously gets ongoing training. The dogs, the facility, they go out of their way to keep it clean and orderly. I was going to elaborate some more on how wonderful they treat my dog, because she is spoiled. And that it's easy, you either treat your dog right or you don't. And Cosmos Corner is a caring, really caring place, and everybody loves their dogs as if they're their own. But here, I'm going to take a moment to talk about the parking lot, because that seems to be the big issue. My husband and I, Walter, have witnessed people, their staff cleaning the parking lot with an electric broom, which is no easy job in itself. But they're caring, and they want to make sure that the water goes down and to ensure that the runoff is not a problem. I think the other thing that's important to know, that if you move your business, you should scope out where you're moving. You should scope out during the day, during the night, and if you move, even from the other side of the complex, as the plaintiff did, He was in that complex. He knows exactly. The dogs haven't left. Cosmos has been in business for over 14 years, doing a fine job. He should have done his due diligence properly, and if the water was a big issue for him, then not move there. It's that simple. There's certainly a lot of abundance of open office space in the city. So that is, just want to hope that they've been in the same location, their clientele likes the location and the facilities. And I just want to just ask you to please approve their permit, because you will not find a better place, and I'm sure they would be more than happy to have you try it out with your doggies. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me before I go back? Because I am enthusiastic. I wouldn't be here and take the time and make this effort. I'm not a public speaker. This is not my forte.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you have any discipline problems with your corgi? Because I know a dog that does have some discipline problems and could use some daycare and discipline training.
I'm sure they'd be more than happy to help you out.
Okay, thank you.
Because I'm telling you, they are very strong-minded.
So is this dog I'm talking about. Okay.
Yes. In fact,
Yeah.
I always say my corgi has my husband and I well-trained.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Alan Barr, and after Mr. Barr is Mike Maletti.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. My name is Alan Barr. I'm the manager here at Cosmos Corner. I've been privileged to work with Paul and Nicole now for a little over 5 years, and it's been probably the most amazing experience. I've been the manager for 3. I can personally attest to the service we provide and the number of dogs we support in this situation or in the community. Just a vital aspect of being there for people when they're away and providing the utmost care for their dogs. If you're anything like me, they're family members, and everyone that comes to visit us is another family member. I can attest personally to the dedication to education, cleanliness. Our reputation wouldn't be where it was, if we weren't on top of this all the time. We wouldn't be able to provide the service we provide for the dogs if we weren't on top of that at all times. Paul and Nicole have personally flown me across the country to Colorado Springs, to Austin, Texas, all on their dime just to go through extra training to make sure that we can provide these kind of services to everybody. And just to address your question, I know there's a little confusion about the drainage with the water going through. The best example I can give, when we actually go through our deep cleaning out in the yards and you hold up the artificial grass surface is kind of like pods. They're lift up and it's on a kind of like a milk carton plastic thing. You can spray the hose directly on it and it doesn't just fly through the backside. It almost works like a sponge. So that's why you kind of get that slow release throughout the day that kind of contributes to that. When we dump the pool, it runs down that concrete, but it also takes a while to actually work itself through the pods. So I hope that could provide you a little more understanding of why we see that little more constant flow during the day. Thank you for your time.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Any more questions or anything?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Mike Maletti, and then Barbara Messner.
So I own a business in 511 Central Drive. It's right next to Cosmos Corner. If you look up here, this is where Cosmos Corner is. They take up a few of these buildings here on here. My office is right here. And I also work on all of these properties' doors.
Can you come to the microphone, please?
Yeah, we have.
Work on the garage doors.
You could please come to the microphone.
Okay. I work on the garage doors for these properties, and worked on the door that the folks that just moved in. So and was in there the other day, and I don't smell any foul smell. And at the end of the drain, where it runs off, there's the grass is as green as it gets. This is to me a sign that this has to be water. If it's urine, we know what happens to grass when urine hits it, right? I know that my grass turns brown, But if you go look at the end of the grass, or the grass right at the end of the drain, it is as green as it can be, which means to me that it must be clean water going down there. I appreciate you letting me get in front of you, but they're great neighbors. There's no foul smells, and they run a great shift. So,
Thanks a bunch.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Barbara Messner, and after Miss Messner is Edward Griffiths.
Good evening. If I'm not mistaken, this is True Industrial. This is Lynn Haven Mall area, correct? Central Drive? Is that not correct, Mr. John? No? Where's Central Drive? Off London Bridge? Okay. Well, London Bridge is, most of that is considered industrial. So that's what we need, and this sounds like a wonderful place. You know, people are coming.
I saw it. I apologize.
People are coming here and putting kennels in neighborhoods. This sounds like a wonderful operation. And y'all could learn a lot. I don't understand Mr. Towers, drilling them, or Mr. Rouse offering them money. If the Economic Development Authority, you can't offer money to everybody. If you want to support them, donate your own money. I appreciate the fact that they said no thank you, that, they had loyal people there, that worked there, that they didn't need that. But the oceanfront is filthy. All these things should be implemented for the oceanfront. It's more a dog park than a beach. There's more dogs than kids, and I'm for this because they don't have any complaints, and we have flooding from the breweries. You have flooding coming out of Strawbridge. All of these places, there's water pouring out everywhere into the storm drains. So yeah, I just think you should take more concerns about the kennels in the neighborhoods, because this is apparently, a well-run operation. Thank you.
Edward Griffiths, and then we have one WebEx speaker.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of the council, for giving me this opportunity to share my concerns. My name is Edward Griffiths. I'm the owner of EGI, which is a veteran-owned business, and it's located in the same building as Cosmo's Corner. Our primary concern with Cosmo's expansion is due to the manner in which they manage wastewater from their outdoor kennels. As their kennels are cleaned throughout the day, the wastewater is washed directly into a stormwater drainage path and creates a large stream of waste directly in front of our office. This is my office here. This picture is taken from my office. Cosmo's is in the background. You can see that's not clean water. It's yellow, it's stained, and it's definitely a nuisance to our business. I don't think any business owner would be happy coming to work every day and dealing with this in front of their office. I know Cosmo's is very concerned about how their business looks. They have velvet ropes in front of their office. They're very concerned, but they don't share the same concern for my business or my customers or my employees. There's been a lot of talk about the level of urine, but I think most people would agree that any water coming from an outdoor kennel is not clean. It will contain some level of urine, solid waste, hair, and other debris. To make matters worse, this stream is present all day, every day, and it's never dried up. Since I moved in on July 1st, that has been there every single day. This has created a work environment that is unprofessional, unsightly, unhealthy, and definitely a nuisance to our business. We have attempted to resolve this situation through the property owner. However, to this point, Cosmo's has denied any wrongdoing. It has not offered any reasonable solutions. Because of this, I decided to take a closer look at Cosmo's permit, and I would like to make a couple points. Their conditional use permit clearly states Dogs will be kept indoors in a soundproof and air-conditioned space during normal working hours. This is clearly not the case. Additionally, as has been mentioned, there's no mention of 2 outdoor kennels that currently exist between the buildings and extend into the parking areas. The outdoor kennels are marked with dog warning signs, have PVC anti-climb features on the top, artificial grass, sunshades, and pools, which are clearly designed to hold dogs for long periods of time and not short walks. I believe that these outdoor spaces are clearly outside the scope of their permit and too close to surrounding businesses and are the cause of the wastewater issues I speak of. Conditional use permits are designed to minimize negative impact on surrounding properties and businesses. If these outdoor kennels are allowable under this permit, I'm requesting that additional conditions be added to limit the impact on our business and to
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next speaker is and last speaker is via WebEx, Elaine Summerall. Ms. Summerall, if you would pause 2 to 3 seconds before beginning, you are unmuted.
Hello?
Go ahead, you can begin.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I know it's late and I know everyone is wanting to, go home, but I have been a client of Cosmos since 2009, and I have 7 greyhounds that have gone through there, retired racing greyhounds. I would never leave them anywhere else except for Cosmos. I've been there every evening when they're out there scrubbing and making sure everything is dry, everything is clean. You go there when it's cold and everything is sparkling. They take great pride in what they do. And I work in landscaping and we do that development, and the drainage there is horrible. And it doesn't matter what time of weather that it is or what day of night or whatever, the drainage there is terrible. And you never smell anything. And once again, Mr. Griffith should have done his due diligence a little thorough to observe maybe what truly was there, a respectable, clean environment that many walks of professional life leave their animals there, and they would not do that if the place inside or outside was not clean. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Sienkiewicz, would you like to come up for rebuttal?
Okay, I just want to state again about the outside areas. They're not kennels. Dogs are out there for short periods of time just to get some sunshine and air and then rotated back in. I said that you should have a letter in your packet from the tenant that was in this space for 10 years before Mr. Griffiths moved in. And if you read that letter, I have a copy of it as well. They state that we were great neighbors, no problems with noise, no problems with the dogs, no problems with cleanliness, that they've seen us out there taking care of any of the issues. And this was a dance studio, so they had young girls out there in bare feet walking around in the parking lot as well. So, is there any other questions?
Ms. Wilson.
First of all, congratulations on being named the top dog place.
Thank you.
That's I have my dog, and like Mr. Rouse said, I'm a huge dog lover as well. And I know people need a good place to take their family members when they can't be with them all the time. So, and I think it's a wonderful thing that you want to expand, not to expand your number of clients, but they have more space, so everybody is more comfortable, and all of the issues of waste and all that would be over a larger area. I did have a question, though. About how many dogs do you take in a day?
We get about 90 to 100, and we have, with the expansion, it would be over 12,000 square feet. There's some industry standards of how many square feet you should have per dog for a dog daycare kennel. So we're way within that. We like to run actually smaller groups and provide other things for them, mental stimulation and things like that, besides just physical activity as well. So that's why we want to run the smaller play groups. But we do get quite a few dogs. We're definitely not one of the biggest in the city. There are bigger ones. But that's how many. And it varies seasonally. Summer now, we're busy with people traveling.
And about how many do you keep overnight, is on an average?
It depends, of course, on the day of the week. Fridays and Saturdays, we could go up to in the 90s. We hadn't because of COVID. We had our first days of 0 when COVID first began, which we never had in 14 years, and we had 3 days of 0 dogs staying overnight. But on Fridays and Saturdays in the summer, Thanksgiving and Christmas, we could go up to 90, and we have enclosures for all of them. Some of them are cage-free. We have someone stays on site all night with them in case of emergency. During the week, though, we maybe have, in the summer it's more, now we maybe have 30, 40. In the winter, it's a lot less as well.
And I totally understand how important it is for them to get outside. I know the happiest times of my dog's life is when he can be outdoors. So I don't think you can keep them inside all the time. So anyway, thank you for what you do, and really appreciate you expanding to give them, everybody more space.
Okay, anybody else at this point, Mr. Moss?
I just had a question for staff when the time comes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can we get a motion first?
Yep, I'm gonna wait.
Okay.
I'm going to move to defer this, and the reasons are I don't understand, and maybe we'll find out more. We can talk to Mr. Ton some more, how, given this location of this kennel, how we can have outdoor spaces. I mean, this is not Pungo. These are neighbors who are trying to run a business next door, and the last thing I want to do, and I think the last thing Mr. Griffiths wants to do, is shut this business down. I want everybody to understand that. I'm not interested in that. I'm just trying to, one, understand why are there operations that are outdoors, and as yet there's no reference whatsoever to the outdoor operation in the conditional use permit. I'd like some more information about that, and I'd like to have at least some opportunity to see whether there's any way that they could improve their operations or their techniques that might abate this issue, which seems from Mr. Griffith's testimony and his photographs to be occurring on a regular basis. And if you think about it, I can't imagine it's not occurring on a regular basis, given that he is the tenant downstream from this. And I respect all these customers who've come and said what a great operation it is. Believe me, I believe it. It's extremely impressive, very well run business in terms of their customers. They love it, obviously, and that takes a lot of work, and I appreciate it. But Mr. Griffiths is the guy downstream from it, so I've got to kind of look out for him a little bit too. And I just am not ready to vote to approve it yet, so I'd like to defer it to get more information about why we don't have any reference to the outdoor operations of a kennel in this kind of place. It's when we have, I think typically, what is Mr. Tahan, what, can you tell me what the distance is required from the usually from a kennel operation, from its neighboring properties?
The zoning ordinance notes that if it's within 100 feet of an adjacent property line, that the kennels need to be soundproofed and air conditioned, the indoor kennels. So that is the requirement for the zoning ordinance. It doesn't say that it has to be any further away than it just requires that if it's within a distance to that.
Right, that's the building itself. Is this building within 100 feet of its?
So it is, which is why there's a condition that notes that the area where their dogs are kenneled shall be soundproofed and air conditioned, which is why that condition is there.
So you can be closer if it's soundproof?
That is correct.
I get it, okay. Thanks, that explains that. Anyway, I'd like to see if we can work this out. I'd like to defer it. I don't want to delay it unduly. Whenever the best time, we could bring it back up again at another voting meeting.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion out of deference to the district member because we've done it before. And I will forego the discussion tonight, but I am very interested in understanding where the fine line is between you can have an indoor kennel but have outside infrastructure and footprint. I have to understand that a lot more.
I mean, you could have a kennel with a lot of people. I think this is, again, I think this is a really well-run business.
But I would like to defer it to wait till the September 2nd. I don't want to prolong this. I would like it to be sooner than later, if that's amenable to you.
It's 7th.
It's the 7th, thank you, school. So September 7th, if we could, that would be great.
If I can make a comment, I think deferral is quite frankly inappropriate. This business has been there for 14 years. It is well-run. They have demonstrated going overboard on taking care of things. This is an established business, and if anybody thinks that they can run a daycare kennel without some outside activities for a number of reasons, you know, these folks supply a very valuable service to people. They supply, when people come to Virginia Beach to visit, they supply something that is extremely important as a service. I can't think of a daycare center, and I've been involved in a few of them in an opening, that it would be unconscionable to keep dogs inside all day.
Who's asking for that?
Oh, no, but I'm just saying, you're saying you don't understand the outside component of this, Mr. Tower. No, that's exactly what you're saying. So bottom line is I can't support a deferral.
Me either.
Okay, the vote is open to defer.
By a vote of 5 to 5, the request for the motion for deferral has been denied. Is that?
Okay, motion for deferral. Is there another motion at this point?
I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second for approval.
Give us just a second.
Is there any, okay, give us a second. Any conversation on this? Mr. Rouse.
I just have a comment. I understand Councilman Towers and Councilman Moss's reasoning for wanting to get more information on the on the CUP when it comes to dog kennels. My support for approval goes to the 14 years of running a small business, a family-owned business at that. My support goes to the fact that not only they have been here in our city, which is small business are the backbone of our city, but also the fact that the state recognizes throughout the state they're the #1 dog kennel within the state here, and I went to school in the western part of the state where there's a lot more room for kennels, and I gotta plug Virginia Tech there. But again, the 14 years of experience, the recognition from the state, and the fact that again throughout this tumultuous year we had last year, the fact that they have customers who stay here to 9 o'clock at night to voice their support as well, and so I'm inclined to support this conditional use permit. By no means, Mr. Tower, do I not understand your position on fully understand. I think what you were trying to say is fully understanding the CUP issue of having an outside dog kennel and what is that all about. I understand that completely, and that's something too, Mr. DeHaan, I want to learn more about, but I think it shows something where city council should support businesses who've been the staple of their community for such a long time and find more information when it comes to those questionable things such as conditional use permits. So, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Mr. Moss.
I'm just going to continue to provide my support to the district member, and I'm sure as we move to a district system, people might want to be keeping that in the back of their minds.
Mr.
Yes, Mr.
Mayor,
Bellucci.
thank you. I just would like to offer my reflections on this topic, I think what I heard Mr. Tower say was that he requested a deferral to sort through some of these concerns that appeared to be legitimate. And the sticking point for me, and I just want to say, based on what Mr. Rouse said and others, I'm a big supporter of small businesses as well. I have a great deal of respect for all the people who are here and for everything that you shared with us. I was teasing about the dog, but I also wanted you to know that I do understand how important pets are to our lives. I'm almost in shock that I'm saying that based on how I felt about them before, but I really do think I can tell that you love the animals that are in your care and that you do an extraordinary job. But what I think it's Mr. Griffith, what I heard Mr. Griffith say, that there's a constant stream of material that's running down. And one of the questions I was going to ask before he got to that point was, when was this picture taken? How often does it look like that? But what he answered that question, he said all day, every day. And so we talk about supporting small businesses. What about the other small businesses within that commercial shopping center? And I don't think the motion was to deny. The motion was to defer until we could seek some resolution. And what I also heard was that Cosmos Corner Doggy Daycare, I think that's the name, right, was interested in entertaining that discussion. So I don't see what the problem is. And that's my opinion, that's my reflections, and that's the basis for my vote to support Mr. Tower's recommendation.
Yeah, but, once again, Mr. Bellucci, I respect you and Mr. Tower, but the fact remains you have an existing business there for 14 years that have been operating this way. And, when you look for a potential remedy, what could be, I really don't see, a path to, but I'm just saying, I know it's very frustrating for a lot of people, but, when you have an established business there for 14 years, and when you go to relocate a business somewhere, find out about, what the conditions are. If the water has been there constantly throughout, that it probably was there at the time, when the property was being investigated for the other business. And the point is, though, that, they have bent over backwards to accommodate. And once again, to me, this is a small, what do we say to, businesses that have been around for 14 years and have been operating successfully and have received accolades? What can possibly be done that could improve that situation? And I don't see a path
Well,
forward.
with respect, Mr. Mayor, what do you say to new emerging businesses, entrepreneurs, people who want to relocate and expand and open a new business?
Well, the point is, location, location, location. Determine the positives and negatives, cost-benefit analysis, and figure out if it's the ideal spot.
So what's the motion before us?
The motion is to approve the application,
Who made the motion?
I did.
and Jim seconded it.
All right.
Okay?
Mr. Tower, thank you. By a vote of 6 to 4, this application has been approved.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And at this point, Mr. Vice Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, make the following nominations for appointments. Council liaisons, Councilmember Rocky Holcomb, liaison to Clean Community Commission. Councilmember Rocky Holcomb, council liaison to Urban Agricultural Advisory Committee.
Welcome to the club.
To the Agricultural Advisory Commission, John Cromwell, Jason Dawley, Bart Fry. To the Human Rights Commission, Naeem Lego, junior high school student, Evie Liu, senior high school student. To the Investigative Review Panel, Candace Miller. To the Planning Commission, David Bradley for the Princess Anne District. To the Public Library Board, Gracie Tigner as a student member. To the Transition Area, Interfacility Traffic Area Citizens Advisory Committee, David Bradley, ex officio Planning Commission member. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the names are in, the vote is open.
By a vote of 10 to 0, you've appointed those read as nominated by Vice Mayor Wood.
Okay, thank you. Is there any old business? Any new business? Thank you all. We are adjourned. Thank you.